Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Saturday night, it is the World Series of Sim Racing Roasted Gems Cup Series here tonight. It's race number 4 of the season, and the drivers attacking the mile-and-a-half course for the Roasted Gems Coffee 225. Got to give a big thanks to Roasted Gems Coffee for being the title sponsor of the WSSR. If you want some great premium coffee, well, go on it over to roastedgems.com. Use the promo code WSSR for 5% off. Start your day off right with Roasted Gems Coffee. As tonight, these drivers are attacking Kansas, which if you've been watching here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we got to see a little bit of a preview of this race on Tuesday night. It was a completely different car. We're expecting the same amount of great racing here tonight. As the sun's starting to set and the drivers are starting to ramp up their speed, we're ready to give you all the coverage here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. For myself, Sam Dyer, I've got that of Trevor Earhart with me, as well as going to be that of Robert Moyer Jr. running productions this evening. Trevor, these drivers, they've got a tough test for them here tonight, but man, with the way this season started, I'm excited for tonight.
Yeah, the last time we were at a mile and a half at Las Vegas, a really close finish, a really exciting finish. So back at another mile and a half, Sam, and I'm excited to see what these guys put on tonight.
Tonight, these drivers are going to be running 150 laps, stage break at lap 40, and with no fast repairs, they've got to make sure they keep these vehicles in tip-top shape all throughout this night with 4 extra sets of tires in pit road, meaning these drivers might have to come in and utilize those tires as practice is coming to an end. When we look at the leaderboard, Trevor, kind of familiar faces that we're seeing top of the board that we're seeing right now.
Yeah, Brandon Colley, Thompson, Check, Vincent Sora, those 3 were really fast at Las Vegas, along with Aaron Smith right there, and super close times between our top 10 basically. So I'm expecting to see these guys on top of one another pretty much the whole race.
Yeah, Aaron Smith hoping for a good recovery day after last week for these drivers running at that Dakota. Road course racing for these drivers. Smith had one of the fastest cars heading into that race, but a lap 1 incident between himself and Cedric Hunter made it to where the 70 had to work his way just to get a decent finish for himself. But tonight could be very similar on the fact that track position could be key. And to start things off, practice is coming to an end, meaning we're heading to qualifying, and this is the first step of making sure you're in a good track position to start off this race. Trevor, Kansas, a track, like I said, we've seen earlier this week, but a mile-and-a-half track that's got a bunch of varieties to see how these drivers want to attack this track.
Bunch of varieties, bunch of different lines you can run. We saw it Tuesday night. You could run up at the wall. You could run all the way down at the white line. You could run the middle of the track. So, for these guys, it's going to be where you're most comfortable with, what you feels best on your tires. And, we're getting ready for qualifying here as Cedric Hunter rolls off for his first lap.
About half the field is going to be rolling off here. Now the drivers are given 5 minutes to put down 2 laps, and the fastest lap will be the time that's utilized for that of their qualifying positioning. But if you do get an incident point of hitting the wall, getting into the grass, or just losing control, that will disqualify that one time and will allow you to try at least one more attempt if you have not squandered that last lap. As drivers getting rolling for themselves, here's going to be the 26 of Jeremy Little, and Jeremy was a driver that looked good when we were at these oval length courses. He's hoping to find that same magic that he had back during our first couple of weeks of this season, as he'll be starting his first lap for himself. Now, looking at the times for these drivers, practice kind of a little bit of a deceptive for us up at the booth. The majority of those times were based off of that of having the draft. Trevor, not having the draft certainly, I would imagine, can help these drivers with steering, but not expecting the times to be as similar as we saw from practice.
Yeah, expect the times to probably be down to 2/10 maybe from what we saw, the fastest time being in practice, but definitely going to help with the feeling of the car. It won't be as tight. These things in dirty air can be quite a handful and really pushy on you. So I expect these guys to be a little bit more comfortable here as they're doing their single lap runs.
Jeremy Little going to be taking that first lap pole award right now, but will it stick? Coming at turn number 4, having his issues, and the driver that's hoping to climb the boards for himself after his second lap, it's going to be that of seeing the one, Brandon Colley, fastest during practice, currently fastest during qualifying, and he's hoping that this is going to stick for himself.
Yeah, Colley's shown speed in practice. You know, every race that we've been at so far hasn't quite got the qualifying down yet. But so far, first on the board. And as I say that, Jamie Dunning goes to the top of the board with a 30.867.
Jamie Dunning, a driver that has been searching for some type of consistency throughout this season, and looks like found a little bit of magic here tonight. A 30.867 is the lap time for the 54. Here comes Tom Sinchek. Going to be looking for some speed. The 8 machine's been fast, but not looking like the speed is there. 12th on the board for themselves. Here comes a driver, though. I'm excited to see what threat they're going to be on track. The 77 of Justin Lewis, but only 10th on the board after their time is done. And with 2 minutes left on for these drivers to qualify, there's only a handful of drivers that really have an opportune chance to beat out this 54 for that pull award. And this is going to be the first on our list. Zach Hall, first lap, about to be put down for the 42.
Real good exit there to turn 4, really close to the wall. It's going to get good momentum down the front straightaway here, heading off into turn 2, or turn 1.
And out of turn 2, it's going to be 20th on the board for that first lap, with just about 1 minute and 30 seconds left here for qualifying. Plenty of time to get this final lap in. That's a little bit over 31 seconds for these drivers, with a 42 trying to paint that white line, looking good, exiting high, utilizing every little bit of this track. Here comes Zach Hall, hoping to steal the pull award, and for that of the 42, he does. Last lap, takes it by 100th of a second.
A great lap there by Zach, got all of it out of that race car and puts himself in P1 for the start of this race.
1 minute left here in qualifying. It looks like we might be set on where we're at. So it gives us time to thank some of our sponsors here that help out for the WSSR. That at ButtKicker, going to be the Rookie of the Year award for this series, as we've got a couple of drivers that are looking strong for that Rookie of the Year award, such as seeing that of Aaron Smith the second as well. James Vining and a couple of other drivers looking for their consistency to try to get that Rookie of the Year award, which if you get the Rookie of the Year award, you get yourself a game or two from ButtKicker. As 20 seconds left in qualifying, all drivers are done. I mean, Trevor, that's a strong-looking field with our top 10 all within 1/10 of one another.
Yeah, really reminiscent of how close they were in practice, Sam. So this is going to be, an exciting race, especially with how competitive these times are. I'm really looking forward to getting into this.
Well, this is going to be continuing with the trend. 4 races, going to be 4 different pole sitters. And the one that's not there, well, Brandon Colley's mom is going to be quite disappointed, because for the 4th week in a row, he's not on the pole award. It's going to be someone else's parents that are going to be proud of their child, and that's Zach Hall, who's going to be getting top of the board for the 42. Jamie Dunning's going to be getting that 2nd place for themselves, with Brandon Colley falling down to 3rd. Just get a little bit quicker there, Colley, and maybe your mom can finally be proud of you with your qualifying attempts. Then you got that of the 31 of Danny Cochran, who's going to be in 4th place, with that of Vincent Sora in 5th. That of Chris Howell going to be in 6th place, with that of Aaron Smith in 7th. James Vining 8th, with Cedric Hunter in 9th, and finishing out your top 10, it's Brian Johnson.
Kyle Rochelle and Justin Lewis roll off 11th and 12th. Jeremy Little in 13th. Martin Morales 14th. Tom Sinchek in 15th. Christopher Norris 16th. John Peel 17th. Jonathan Cogswell and Alex Light roll off 18th and 19th. And Chris Fall rounds out your top 20.
21st is going to be that of Richard Wolfsfer, as well as going to be in 22nd, James Kaufman. Carl Pooler is going to be in 23rd. 24th is going to be Chuck Sweeting, with Rich Jameson going to be in that of 25th. That of Bob Skinner going to be in 26th position. 27th is going to be Ed Perry, with James Hackworth Jr. going to be our 28 drivers here tonight that are looking to get on the grid and get rolling for themselves. But tonight, once again, we are at Kansas for the Roasted Gems Coffee 225. These drivers are going to be running 150 laps, but we get a good little stint to start things off. Stage break going to be at lap 40 for these drivers. Well, the top 10 drivers at that point will get bonus points, and then as well, 4 extra sets of tires in pit road. But Trevor, based on the fuel run that we were given, looks like these drivers don't have to worry about fuel, but this first stint could give a lot of information on how these drivers want to attack.
Yeah, thankfully you're not going to have to worry about fuel in this first stint. You're going to have to worry about tires and how you handle those in tire wear, Sam. So something to look out for as this first run progresses, is how these guys attack this track and keep the tires on these race cars.
Tires, tires, tires. We're going to talk about it all night long. Different strategies that can be utilized and others on how to protect their tires as we are rolling. Zach Hall, Jamie Dunning going to be the front runners for themselves, as this is going to be the second career pole award that Zach Hall is going to be grabbing for himself here for the WSSR, one of the veterans of this series, as drivers are rolling. Now, I talked about the fact that we do have our rookie award. Got a ton of rookies that we're expecting to see run pretty well here tonight. Trevor, who is on your mind of some of the rookies that might be a threat to try to go for a top 5 or one of their career best finishes?
You got to look at the 70 machine of Aaron Smith. He showed speed at Las Vegas. I expect him to be up there. And Danny Cochran, starting third in the 31 machine. I mean, heck of a qualifying run, or starting fourth. I mean, it's a heck of a qualifying run from Danny, and looking to see what he can do in the 31 car.
Certainly is looking good for themselves, and for us up in the booth, we're excited because Saturday nights we're back to green flag racing as the WSSR Road to Gems Cup Series is back to racing action as we're here at Kansas. Green flag, and it's already the 42, gonna be clear with a great push from his teammate Brandon Colley as they charge down into turn number 1. The side-by-side racing begins here at Kansas.
Yeah, Colley got a great push there from the 15 of Vincent Sora. Those three were able to clear the top line of Dunning and Danny Cochran as they head down the backstretch, and Vincent Sora is going to go ahead and make a move here on Brandon Colley into turn 3.
Vincent Sora going to be diving it down low. Driver that found himself into victory lane last week at COTA, trying to do a back-to-back to help himself for the points. He comes in tonight as the points leader, but you can already see it. A lot of side-by-side racing from that of 5th on back, 2, 3 wide, all around one another, and it's going to be Cedric Hunter trying to pull away as Jamie Dunning struggling on the outer lane. Had a great qualifying run, but it looks like the race pace is protection. Protect those tires here in the early going.
Yeah, it looks like early on that top line, not quite where you want to be. It looks like the bottom line has a lot more momentum here early on in this race, but we'll see if that changes as the race progresses.
Side by side, going to be seeing that Dunning dropping down low, but here comes some other drivers. That's going to be Howell and the 88 trying to throw it onto the apron. That is free game. It is okay to go onto the apron on the straightaways, and the 88 willing to utilize all the runs that he can. Now it's going to be James Vining in the 33, close to the outside wall, which that's another aspect of this race that these drivers got to be careful of.
And no fast repair with these guys tonight, so you get into that outside wall, that is damage that will stick on your car all night long. Regardless if you get it, the optional repairs fixed or not, that's still damage that you will have to deal with.
As we're riding on board, the driver that we rarely see in this type of position, stuck in the middle of the field, it's Brian Johnson. This 28, usually a threat to win each and every race we go to, but here tonight didn't look pretty quick during practice and even during qualifying. Only was able to get up to 10th place. This 28 machine backing off. Looks like tire saving is the goal as you see drivers in front of him getting close. That's the 54 of Dunning getting very close to the 21 of that of Kyle Rochelle.
And you can see how much momentum changes there when we were on board there with Brian Johnson. When somebody has to check up in front of you, the closing rate of these race cars is 33. Gets a little bit loose. Good save there by James Vinning. And Brian Johnson ducks to his inside here coming down the backstretch.
Vining struggling for himself as he continues to fall back. We got to go up front because the battle for the lead is on. Vincent Sora taking the lead position out of turn number 2. We saw the scare from Vining. The had to keep our eyes on that because we didn't know if the big one was going to strike. But certainly for the lead, it has been taken. The 15, the kid, feeling good as he takes the lead for himself. But you can already see on our cameras still a lot of side-by-side going on. 4th place, got that of Aaron Smith trying to make the pass on Danny Cochran with a quick squeeze, but the 31's holding off the 70.
Yeah, Danny there just a little bit squeezed at the 70, killed the 70's momentum, was able to hold him off here, but looks like Aaron Smith's going to try to set back up here and see if he can get a run down the front stretch. Right behind them, almost 3 wide action between Cedric Hunter, Rochelle, and Justin Lewis.
Justin Lewis in that 77 just sent it, said, you know what? I see a space I can place myself. Maybe this 3rd lane might come into a little bit of a better run, and he's really getting into the throttle early, back in the throttle, but you can see this little bit of a shimmy when he touches the throttles 3 wide for the quick moment. It's going to be that of the 77 trying to beat out that of Kyle Rochelle, but Trevor, that center of the corner is hurting. Yes, you see the speed, but he just can't get off the corner as strong.
can't get off the corner. He gets a really good run. Oh, he gets into the wall, gets into Rochelle, gets into Aaron Smith, and Smith is going to spin into the grass.
Into the grass, but will he come back up into the field? He'll drift right onto the apron, and yellow flag will fly. And that will bring out our first caution of the day. Aggressive driving and aggressive pushing, and the 77 slams that outside wall, and the innocent victim will be that of Aaron Smith, bringing out our first yellow on lap 8.
Yeah, just a little bit of over-aggression there from Justin Lewis, got into the outside wall, and Kyle Rochelle and Aaron Smith, just poor innocent victims in that whole incident.
Well, it gives these drivers the reset, and now I think for any of those that decided to on purpose to drop back and try to save tires, this is going to put them in a decent spot moving forward, as timing of this yellow was for Vincent Sora, looking good as now he's got the lead. Colley is in second. Zach Hall, though, he had fallen back to third place during all of those shenanigans going on in the middle of the field that brought out this yellow, but I'm curious now, we touched on it, no fast repairs for these drivers, so with the timing of this yellow, do you come into pit road if you're someone like Justin Lewis, or do you think you might try to just test out how this car's feeling? Same can be said for Kyle Rochelle that was involved with that 3-wide incident.
You know, I think if you're Kyle Rochelle or Aaron Smith, I don't think your damage is going to be as bad. Justin Lewis, though, it's going to be interesting to see what he decides to do, because he did get into the outside wall pretty heavily there in that 77 machine, so it'll be interesting to see what he does, if he decides to stay out and test it, or if he decides to come in and get it fixed.
Into pit road, Kyle Rochelle, Justin Lewis, the two drivers a question, but does anyone else follow suit further back? And drivers look like they are making that indication to come into pit road, but it's much further back in the field. That's going to be 23rd position, Rich Jameson, as well as going to be Chuck Sweeting, as well as Ed Perry, and of course the driver that brought out the yellow going to be that of Aaron Smith II, who will be in pit road to get service done. We're on lap number 10 here of 150, but we're now closing in on 30 laps to go before our stage break at the end of lap 40 for these drivers, which for a lot of them, hoping that this race can stay green until that moment. But I don't know if we are going to see a lot of green flag racing, as we're going to bring up the weather for these drivers. You can see it on screen. The sun's starting to set, so the weather could be a factor for them as well. Ambient temperature, 70 degrees, with that of the track temp being 73, as you can see on our top right of our weather graphic. But the one aspect I want to bring up is the wind. It is swirling right now and also moving quite a bit, anywhere up to 13 miles per hour, dropping down to 9, but it's been swirling anywhere from going southeast to that of being, you know, northwest. It has constantly been changing on these drivers, which is a factor that it's not very much touched on iRacing, and it's kind of a factor that for some they can feel it all the time, others it's a small little, you know, thing they've got to worry about.
Yeah, it's something that you don't think about, but once you feel it, you know, once you understand how big of a factor swirling winds can be. It will do things to the race car at random times that you're not expecting. So just another little aspect that these drivers have to keep in the back of their minds as they're racing side by side is if that wind does gust, you know, it can make them either loose or push their car right up the racetrack. So just something for them to keep in mind as they continue on.
Which, if we think back to 2 weeks ago at Indianapolis, even during the practice of that race, there was a lot of swirling going on while they were trying to get prepared for that. Or they already were telling us that the cars just felt angry and mad. Well, I'm curious if they're feeling the same way here tonight. We'll touch and talk to some of our drivers later on in this race. We've got an opportunity, but tonight these drivers are set. They're ready to go. We've had our first yellow, but it has not caused any DNFs so far here tonight, as it's going to be Vincent Sora, Brandon Colley, Zach Hall, Danny Cochran, and Jamie Dunning going to be your top 5, ready to get rolling here. Pace car lights are off, meaning it is time for us to get back to green flag racing. Pace car pulls off, and the Roasted Gems Coffee 225 is back to green flag racing into the restart zone, and Vincent Sora not waiting for anyone, already a 2-car length lead over that of Brandon Colley.
Great start by Vincent Sora. Not a great start there by Zach Hall on the inside line. Brandon Colley was able to get a pretty good jump. He's going to clear and keep that second spot heading into turn 2.
Into turn number 2, when our front runners looking good for themselves, with Danny Cochran really making that charge on the outside. Here comes that of Cedric Hunter, who's going to have a decent run for himself. You know, talking about other drivers that really weren't able to get going. Jamie Lee Dunning was another driver that really couldn't get themselves rolling, as see back here behind that 7th place runner. Driver still hurting for any type of grip, but it's Brian Johnson finally climbing back into our top 10.
Yeah, Brian Johnson slowly making his way up here on the bottom inside the 26 of Jeremy Little there. Kind of boxed in, nowhere to go for the 28 machine, as he's got, I think, a little bit more speed than Christopher Howell in front of him, and Howell's going to throw a block down the backstretch.
Oh, they're on a block, might be trying to give a little bit of a bump as well. Watch out, here comes Christopher Norris on the outside of that 28, but Dunning holds strong. Looks like the 54 looking good, but look behind to see the 38 of Christopher Norris. Norris has been very aggressive on the entry of turn 1. It's Howell and Johnson almost making contact, trying to make that arc into turn 1.
Yeah, just Brian's trying to move forward. I think he knows he's got a little bit more pace than Christopher Howell there. Almost got into the back of him, but going to be able to clear him down the back stretch and take a dive into the inside of Jeremy Little here in turn 3.
Dive clear, trying to go for an opening, and now going to be stuck as drivers right now, you get a sense of what it's like to be boxed in, not really able to move forward, even though, like you're saying, and visually like we're seeing, looks like that 28's got some speed. He was one of our drivers that I noted on that were saving their tires in the first 5 laps of this race. And based off the pace that we were seeing earlier on, these drivers anywhere from 2 to 3 tenths slower than their fastest times. While Brian Johnson, on the other hand, in a very similar state as Zach Hall, still a lot of pace left in these tires.
Yeah, just, it's all about being smart early in the run, not being over aggressive, and saving these tires, because as we had a caution.
Yellow flag's going to strike, and it's further back. James Kaufman spun around for that of the 25.
So he's front stretch grass here, a little bit of damage to the right rear of that machine, so we'll have to take a look and see what happened to James Kaufman. Might actually have some rear end suspension there, as I think he's had to toe to pit road.
And he is one of the drivers that has issues, and Bob Skinner, another driver involved with this incident, and both drivers going to have required damage as we take a look at this incident. And you're going to see the contact, Kaufman and Bob Skinner, both side by side. Kaufman expecting Skinner to go down onto the apron, doesn't, and just gets into the back bumper. And two drivers that have gotten into one another earlier in the season get into one another again to bring out a yellow, which for Bob Skinner, after missing last week, this was not the way that he wanted to start out his Kansas campaign here this evening.
Nope. We saw it Tuesday night, just thinking that the driver is going to go to the apron. As a driver, you got to understand that that's not always where somebody's going to go, and you've got to be aware of where that car is on your inside, and things like that are going to happen. Now, Sam, we might see what we saw on Tuesday night again here: pit strategy and stage points and track position.
Yeah, I mean, you've got an opportunity to think about coming into pit road to get tires if you're feeling confident about this move. A lot of fakes are going to be seen, but drivers further on back might actually think about this being a good idea. One of the first drivers into pit road is going to be that of Mark Morales Jr. going to be making his pit stop, as well as following him. It's going to be drivers that were involved with our first caution, that of Aaron Smith II, Perry, Chuck Sweeting, all coming in. I'm keeping my eyes on the 90 machine. If he takes tires, this is a full call of I'm going for stage points right now. As like I said, the drivers are about anywhere from 2 to 3 tenths off, and Martin Morales is taking tires for the 91.
Yeah, you've got those 4 sets of tires. I mean, you might as well, if you're stuck in the back of the pack, you might as well come in and take them and see what you can do to get through the field here and get some better track position for yourself.
Now the drivers that had to come into pit road, Chuck Sweeting looking like it's just going to be simply damage repairs for the 75, as there was no indication of taking tires for himself. But that is an interesting call that I'm excited to see how Martin Morales is going to carve his way through, because he's one of the few drivers that has fresh rubber to work with on this run. I'm going to have to go back and see for Kyle Rochelle if that 21 decided to take tires on their pit stop, because they had an extended time. I know damage-wise, there's a lot of damage that needed to get repaired for the 21, and a driver that did take tires during our last pit stop, and I didn't recognize it until now, the 77 of Justin Lewis did take tires under our first caution, but that was a little bit early, only 8 laps into the race. This is much later on, and I like this call from that of the 91.
Yeah, I'm going to be very interested to see how this works out for Martin. Something that we always touch on, especially later on into green flag runs, the overcut, the undercut. So it'll be fascinating to see here how much quicker Martin is on these fresher tires compared to everybody else who are only on 20 lap tires, and they've only, we've had 2 cautions, but still the difference in tires, I think, Sam, is going to be pretty great for the 91.
How fast can that of Martin Morales go through this field, or can the closing rate and extra grip actually throw off the 91? Now, that is another factor that could be thrown out there to hurt Morales, but we're hoping for the positives here, that he can get up front, get top 10 drivers, get bonus points, as went at our stage break at the end of lap 40. So that is the mark that drivers are looking for. But if we get a caution at lap 35 or later, and closer to lap 40, then that will be our stage break. So this 91 knows he's got about 15 laps to get up into the top out of 10, and hope that he can get even further ahead in this group. Pace car is off. Second caution is done. We're back to green flag racing here for the Roasted Gems Coffee 225, and a much better launch by the one of Kali, recognizing where that 15 was going to go.
Yeah, great start there from the outside line. Hey, that's something that we've seen with this new restart zone implication. The top line struggles a little bit on these restarts, but Brandon Colley there with a great restart for himself.
All about that timing. You honestly, as the leader, you can throw off these drivers. If you take off immediately every single time, then that last restart, you wait, you can honestly catch a lot of drivers sleeping or getting a little bit too aggressive. And speaking of aggression, Cedric Hunter throwing it down low, trying to go for third place, and Vincent Sora down on the apron, trying to cut this course as much as possible and just trying to break the draft and break any type of chances of the one trying to catch up to this group.
Yeah, the 3 antagonists from Las Vegas, Vincent Sora, Brandon Colley, and Cedric Hunter right here, all in the top 4, with Danny Cochran in between. But Cedric's trying to work on that 31 machine as Danny dives it down in there, gets a little run there on the 1 machine, but has to back out of it.
Has to back out. Majority of the drivers going to be single file out. Zach Hall close to scrubbing off the outside. Well, actually, that was Jeremy Little, but further on back, you see the scattering of drivers, and the one that's utilizing their tires, we talked about, watch out for Mark Morales. Well, he was all the way back in that of 25th position. In just 2 laps, he's up to 17th already.
Yeah, just keeping it on that white line. He's got so much more grip down there than these guys on these older tires. And Sam, it might look like it's going to pay off for the 91 machines. It gets really close there to Lucifer in the 56, but he's going to be able to get to his inside here and clear him down the front stretch. But that 91 machine, he's moving.
Yeah, Lucifer going to be a driver that's going to be able to get out of the way for now, and now it's the charge for the 91, going to be up to 15th place, just has to get by the 27 of Cogswell, and Cogswell going to be diving it down low. I mean, I think a lot of these drivers not even knowing that tires were taken out of the 91, so they're just running the lanes they're expecting and almost bringing out some yellows with the extra speed that we're seeing from that machine, as all climbing now to the back bumper of this lead pack. This is the time for that of Mark Morales. As long as he doesn't get caught up in a wreck, he's got a great chance to get into that top 10 and maybe even take the lead with the speed we're seeing. 3 wide and stuck in the middle. Going to be that of Alexander Light. Light's going to hold on. Dunning falls back, finding, give a little bit of a block there on the 91. Charging their way through, but up front, it's still that of Vincent Sora leading this race.
Oh, that was really, that was close there. Christopher Howell comes down a little bit there in front of Martin Morales. He's able to back out of it. 3 wide almost down the front stretch as the 91's still trying to get everything he's got on these fresh tires.
Right, but for second place, there's a little bit of contact going there. Danny Cochran, Brandon Colley, they're getting into one another as Danny Cochran takes that run. But out of the exit of turn 4, there was some bumping between the 1 and the 31. They've got to be careful with that, as there's been a little bit of bickering between some of these drivers in the last couple of months. Wouldn't be surprised if they're just racing a little bit harder against some of the drivers that maybe they don't feel like giving as much room. As now lining to the inside of Jeremy Little, as this is battling for 8th place and right in front of the 91, who's got fresh tires and still is trying to be patient. I'm loving this from the 91, but you can tell just the speed difference of having fresh tires compared to those that haven't pitted just yet. And here we go, 3 wide. Vining's going to back out of this, and there goes Morales to the inside.
Yeah, Martin's just being not slow, but very methodical about the moves he's making. Very smart, not putting himself in any danger here as he works his way up into the top 10. And the pace he's going, we still got about 13 laps left in this stage. He might have a real good shot to get to the front of this field.
Yeah, that's the one thing is I'm curious on how these front runners, each driver you pass, a little bit harder it becomes just because of the speed that these drivers have. But the fresher tire certainly gives you the advantage. And right now, seeing just picking and choosing, but again, a lot of these front runners, the inside lane is where they prefer. I'm curious if Martin Morales, if he even wants to attempt throwing it to the outside, would it be the worst thing in the world as they stuck on the limbo of the apron in the racetrack, almost losing it there, going through the tri-oval. And I think that's where I would prefer to see the 91 go, but it seems like he is adamant to staying on that white line.
Yeah, he's been liking that bottom line. So we've got a battle for second between Cedric Hunter and Danny Cochran, and then Tom Sinchek has made his way up here into the top 5 as he gets around Brandon Colley.
Going to be able to get by Colley by a nose, and now it's going to be side by side. This was similar to what we saw as into the wall, Brian Johnson. Now going to be seeing Hal diving it down low into the apron to try to avoid that of the 28. And now that damage, got to be careful for Johnson. That's going to be hurting him for a while as this pack racing, this is looking like Atlanta, the new Atlanta now, with the way these drivers are right on top of one another as they're keeping it close. But it's Vincent Sora keeping the nose ahead of everyone else as here comes Martin diving it down low, cracking into that of 7th place, and about to be up to that about to be that up to 6 for himself. Trying to go 3 wide, thinks better of it, but here comes Justin Lewis, the other driver that took tires under the first caution. He's now going to charge on the outside.
He's been running that top line where basically nobody's been, and right in front of him, the 88 of Christopher Howell. I mean, he's come out of nowhere running that top line. He's up to 3rd.
Talked about it, that high line could be a place to have advantage, and for Justin Lewis, the outside lane is what hurt him and got him into Kyle Rochelle, which then spun out the 70 machine of going to be that of Aaron. But now these drivers all on top of one another with Hal just defending. He'll now dive it down low, going to be clear, and here we go. It's Martin Morales and Lewis making that outer lane work. 10 laps to go here for this stage. End of lap 40 is when our stage is done, and the top 10 are all in this mixture. Our top 12 are all here. Zach Hall, that Little, and Johnson all just got bumped out of our top 10.
This has been just great action here with these guys on new tires, the old tires, and been very clean, close racing. We're 3 wide again with Howell on the outside, or not Howell, Lewis on the outside. Didn't get into the wall this time, but I mean, super tight and close racing here with these guys.
Little, Jeremy Little, issues for the 26. Yellow flag will be thrown. Let's talked about some drivers having their issues. Got to be careful of that outside wall, and it looks like Brian Johnson and that of Jeremy Little making contact with one another to bring out the yellow here tonight.
Yeah, a little bit of contact there between those two as we take a look here at the replay.
I mean, this is you're seeing these drivers get extremely tight, and it looks like the 28 it could not keep it off the 26, and contact was made and into the grass for both. Luckily, it doesn't look like there was too much contact to the actual outside wall, but that tightness level is certainly there after you get 25 laps into a run, especially with how hard we were seeing these drivers racing. Not surprised that tightness level really kicked in there.
No, you saw the flames from the side pipes there of the 28 of Brian Johnson as he was out of the gas, trying to stay out of Jeremy a little bit. I mean, we were starting to see it there in that run. Everybody's starting to get really tight out of the corner exit, and just right there, tried to stay off of him, just couldn't quite do it. Both of them go spinning through the grass, but thankfully no contact with the outside wall, so hopefully not a lot of damage for both those drivers.
Well, now that we know that some drivers like Brian Johnson and Little going to be thinking about pit road, some other drivers might think about pit stops as well, and some that are actually going to be taking the bait. Brandon Colley going to be coming into pit road, as well as seeing that of James Vining, that of Christopher Norris. Will they take tires? And this if we see a lot more drivers come in for tires, they're going to be having even a more of a massive advantage on tire wear, especially on the fact that our leaders, for that of seeing Vincent Sora, he was running, pretty close to what he was running before. But when you're 34 laps into a run, you're going to be much slower than your fastest lap was, at 15, a full second off of his fastest time. Meaning if you're going to take tires, you're in a great spot. And it looks like for the one could be thinking about it, some other drivers thinking about it as well, as Collie did take tires for himself.
Well, this is going to be super interesting, Sam. We're gonna have about five laps before the end of the stage here. So for those guys who came in and take tires, do you push, to get back up there, or do you just kind of ride around for these last, 4 to 5 laps and just try to save those tires and get the track position back at the end of the stage?
Well, with the fact that this race is only 150 laps, our stage break's at lap 40, so that's going to leave us with around that of 110 to 105 laps to really work with to the end of this race. So drivers, with the fuel run that we were given, which was that of 58 to 60 laps, you can push, be very aggressive. You've got 4 extra sets of tires now. Those that just took a set, you got 3 sets to work with. I mean, you could still use another set at the stage break and still have 2 sets to work with at the end of this race. So that means just 1 stop of green and keeping one for, a maybe pit stop later on and save it for a late caution that could potentially come out. So I wouldn't be surprised to see some drivers just utilize these tires to their full potential and get extremely aggressive. But for that of Collie and others, they actually have a lot more damage than I was expecting into pit road. So I don't even know if they're going to feel as confident wanting to get more damage on their cars with this push that they're going to have, as it's going to be around that of a 4 to 3 lap shootout once we get green.
It looks like the first car on fresh tires is going to be the 33 of James Vining, Christopher Norris, Jonathan Cogswell, Brandon Colley, all came in on that caution right there to take 4 tires. So we'll have to see, what they do here on the restart. But the speed difference between those guys on fresh tires and these guys that haven't pit yet is going to be immense.
Also got to think of, with Lewis and Morales, this gives them a reset point. They're going to be a lot closer to Vincent Sora, but this restart is going to matter a lot on who can get through the gears faster and try to keep up with the 15, because Vincent Sora has proven that he can be very good on these restarts, and now he's going to have a new contender to his outside, that of Cedric Hunter. Can Hunter figure out the restart timing on these new restart zones? It's once you get to the Geico restart zone and once the leader hits the throttle, that is when the green flag will be thrown out. So Sora's got to be clean on this start, but can Hunter figure out the timing?
And right behind Vincent Sora, the 8 of Tom Sinchek. I mean, he started back in 15th position. He's done well to work his way up to 3rd, so he might have something to say about this before the end of the stage. But you got to keep your eye out on the 77, the 91, and the 88. Howell, Lewis, and Morales, those 3 guys were flying through the field right before that last caution.
Also, a driver of note that's doing a great recovery round, that's going to be Aaron Smith II. He's up to 13th currently for the 70 machine. He fell all the way back to last place, and now he's going to be up to 13th position. He's trying to make that climb into the top 10. But with drivers getting fresh rubber out under this yellow, it might be a little bit harder to do. As Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, Tom Sinchek, that Christopher Howell, Justin Lewis, they are ready to get back underway here tonight. We've had 3 cautions before our stage break is done. Well, again, yellow flag. This is either going to be the next yellow, or at the end of lap 40, we're going to see our next yellow come out, and that will be our stage break. Green flag's in the air. Tom Sinchek giving a massive shove, and Cedric Hunter from 2nd back to 3rd.
Yeah, that outside line did not get a good restart at all. Checked everybody up there. That's going to allow Sinchek and Vincent Sora to get clear of these guys. But Tom, a little tight there in the center of 1 and 2.
And now it's going to be our front 4, all going to be single filed out. Sora looking comfortable for himself, going to be trying to pull away. And now the question has to loom for everyone further back. A yellow flag could happen because the drivers coming into pit road taking 4 sets of fresh rubber. They're going to be flying, but how patient can they be? As up front, it's still going to be a front 4 staying stable, as Justin Lewis and as well that of Morales keep themselves side by side for now. And as I say that, the battle for 2nd is on. Cedric Hunter now trying to make the pass on that of Tom Sinchek, and now it's that of Christopher Howell. The 88, he's been patient, looming, and now on the pressure potentially, or will he? Here comes that of Morales and Lewis on the outside.
Martin there with a great drive to the outside is going to clear the 88. Now, Howell's done great. He did a good job saving his tires early in this run. Hasn't made that pit stop yet, but he's got some speed in that 88 machine. But, the newer tires by Martin Morales, they're paying off as he goes set sail here and looks at 2nd and 3rd.
And now he's going to be seeing the side-by-side action, but here comes the opening. This is the best chance that Martin Morales is going to have, but he's stuck side-by-side with Lewis. Will Lewis think about trying to find a moment as, just diving down as Tom Senjak diving and blocking and holding off the 91's fresher rubber. Here comes Lewis with the run on the outside, but taking up all that track surface is the 8 machine, and it's holding back the fresh rubber. And Vincent Soares loving this racing action because he continues to pull away. Cedric Hunter, he's got a little bit of a blocker behind him, so he doesn't really need to worry about the pressure, but Senjak somehow doesn't get wrecked right there.
It's the Martin there with so much momentum there, got on the back of the 8 machine. Thankfully didn't spin him around, but Lewis using that outside line to his advantage, going where these guys aren't. He's going to be able to clear the top and get up to 3rd place here coming to the stage break.
Coming to the stage break and across the line, Vincent Soares going to be winner here at our admin box stage break as they all race on by. The yellow flag about to be thrown for these drivers to indicate that yellow as they finally comes out, and a little bit of shuffling between drivers there late because of the yellow not being thrown out immediately after the line being crossed. Some movement has been shown, but Brandon Colley not able to crack the top 10. He was only able to get up to 12 after starting on that restart all the way back mired in 20th position. But he certainly had a lot of work and drivers that were pressuring behind the wall.
Yeah, good job getting up to 12th. I think a couple more laps. I saw him a couple times coming through the field, so I think a couple more laps there, he might have made his way a little bit further up there. But it'll be interesting to see if he comes in and pits here, or if he stays out in that 1 machine. Since he didn't get, I'm sure, as far up the field as he would have liked before the stage.
Well, here's your top 10. They're going to get bonus points. Vincent Soares, Cedric Hunter, Justin Lewis, that of Martin Morales, Tom Senjak, Christopher Howell, as well as Danny Cochran, that of Jamie Lee Dunning, and that of Zach Hall. Carl Pooler going to be your top 10 drivers. And as the drivers head into pit road, we're going to give a big shout out to our stage break sponsor and sponsor of Freaky Fast Broadcasting, the Admin Box. The Admin Box is a premium box with a plug, set, and go to be make sure that you are the best admin and race control of your league or hosted race. Go use our promo code FFB-box with 2 X's at the end to go make sure you get yourself a discount code from the Admin Box. Thank you again for being a Freaky Fast Broadcasting sponsor, as well as being a sponsor here for that of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. Well, as the drivers head into pit road, we're going to step aside. You won't miss a thing as they're getting their service done. It's 4 tires and a fuel. A couple of drivers deciding to stay out. That's Brandon Colley, Brian Johnson, that of Jonathan Cogswell, James Vine, and Christopher Norris, as well as Jeremy Little, going to be your 6 drivers that stay out. But for everyone else, they're getting set. They're ready to go. They're getting out of pit road. We will be right back here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting in just a few moments. Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. It is constant chaos as we are done with our stage break, and now it's about racing it to the end. Vincent Sora, aggressive. He had to start further back as our top six. Decided to stay out on older tires for the 15, who dominated the first stint of this race in the stage racing. Well, he's trying to get back up front with having that of Cedric Hunter in his back pocket following him. As right now, these drivers have put on a great show. We've had 4 yellows so far, 1 being the stage break, 3 on-track incidences. And for myself, as well as for Trevor Earhart, I think we're expecting maybe a little bit more. Thank you for joining us here on Freaking Fast Broadcasting. I'm Sam Dyer with Trevor Earhart, Robert Moyer running productions. And Trevor, we're back to racing, and now the mind games begin on who's going to make it to the end of this race and when do you come into pit road.
We had differing strategies, different levels of aggression here. As we've seen the 15 be aggressive. Brian Johnson was aggressive when around Brandon Colley for the lead on the outside. So the aggression's ramping up, Sam. It's gonna get heated here as these laps wind down.
As we're seeing a little bit further back, these are some of the drivers that really have had a lot of time coming into pit road. As we're watching that of the 56 of that Richard Wilson-Berg, who's watching the 9 watching this lead pack. This is not a bad place to be if you're the 56 machine, who is still in that learning phase, running back in 23rd position. But Trevor, this isn't a bad spot for the 56.
No, just running back here, being smooth, being smart with it, saving some tires, watching these guys be aggressive in front of you, gives you time if there's an incident in front of you to back out of it and avoid getting damage.
And also running back here, you're learning so much on how drivers are attacking. Maybe you can follow in line of what other drivers are doing. And again, that's 56 of Richard Wilson, who's getting his time up on the screen. But we got to go back up front because it is getting chaotic up here. You got drivers on old tires. You've got Vincent Sora on the freshest of tires. But majority of our top 7 still holding on pretty well with just a difference of 11 laps on tires. Really, it's about 6 laps of green flag racing on the difference. And Trevor, I gotta say, I was expecting these drivers to really fall back that stayed out, but they're holding on strong for at the moment.
They're holding on strong. They're making it difficult for the 15 of Vincent Sora and the 13 there of Cedric Hunter to get through them. And they've been on top of one another, almost made contact several times in the corners as Brandon Colley here starting to fall back a little bit in the one machine.
Yeah, Brandon Colley is falling back into the clutches of Vincent Sora. Christopher Norris is now going to be trying to follow in line, which has got to be careful for these drivers not to stack up potential chances of going 3 wide. But I'm surprised the most has to be the battling for the lead as well, because James Vining, a driver that qualified all the way back in that of 18th, that of Brian Johnson qualified in 17th. But Vining is trying to make very aggressive moves on the exit to try to get this 28. But here comes the fresher tires of Vincent Sora.
Yeah, Sora's cleared the pack, but Vining using the top line to his advantage, going where the clean air is, not running in somebody else's wake. Really giving that 33 machine the momentum here as you look into the inside of Brian Johnson off of turn 4. They slide up the track, not quite able to get there, but these two are going to battle side by side here down into turn 1.
This was something we were talking about during the commercial break, was the fact of the tightness level for these drivers. Those first 10 laps, it's really tight. And even behind Vining, he's got his show behind him as they're 3 wide back for that 4th place as they're going to be sorting that out. But these drivers, they're dealing with a lot at the moment. After 10 laps, this car starts to tighten up just a little bit. After 15 laps, if you haven't been saving, it becomes miserable out track. But anywhere from 20 to 25 laps into a run, that outside wall starts to become your friend with the amount of moments these drivers are having on the exit of turn 4 and turn 2. It's getting dangerous. And now, as we're riding on board the 13 of Cedric Hunter, he's trying to make the pass here for 3rd and potentially challenge for 2nd.
Yeah, Vining got slowed way up out of turn 4, got him in the back of Brian Johnson, had such a run on him out of turn 4, had to get out of it. It's going to allow the 13 of Cedric Hunter now to get to his inside, but Vining using that top line to his advantage here. He's got such a run off these corners on these guys that are stuck on the bottom. But Sam, I'm afraid he might be wearing those tires out if he keeps running that outside line like that.
Yeah, I mean, that's the big thing. If you get back into the throttle, which you usually do on the outer lane, to try to get that momentum built up, it means you're putting a lot more strain on that front right tire, which that front right tire gets too worn or too heated up. It just doesn't hold up to the pressure that you're putting down each and every time you get back into the throttle on the exit of the corners, which then puts you into that outside wall. So Vining's got to be careful. He might have to chill out with how aggressive he's been, as we'll fall back and watching this group This is battling that's going on from 6th on back. But still, you got that of Dunning as trying to make this move forward for the 54. Fresh tires for himself, but for Little in the 26, as well as the one of Colley. Old tires, they're starting to fall back now, and they're starting to feel the pain of those tires being worn down so much.
Yeah, almost 3 wide there, but the 54 of Dunning was able to clear the one, and now Sinchek looks to the inside of Brandon Colley. He's got the 77 there of Justin Lewis right behind him, and Little and Colley just continue to fall.
Falling and hoping that they don't get caught up into anyone else's messes so far, as still watching the battling Christopher Norris. I mean, this 38 machine having a great run. He qualified all the way back in 16th place. He's now doing a great job being up here, and for a lot of these drivers, you're hoping for the best run possible. And for the 38, one of our biggest movers so far of the drivers here tonight, as there's been a big swing of drivers that once were up front, those that have had to get a lot of repairs done or have had issues for themselves. I mean, you look deeper into this field, there's some drivers I was not expecting back here. Zach Hall, Danny Cochran, they're back in 15th and 16th place. These were 2 drivers battling for the lead at one moment, and now they're watching the chaos in front of them.
Is there 3 wide in front of them? I mean, they're just all on top of each other. There's a little bit of contact there between Jamie Little and the 88 of Howell. They keep it straight, but this is something you just got to watch out for as you're back here in the pack on this different pit strategy than these guys. You just got to be careful as you work through the field and not get, run over or get involved in somebody else's mess.
Or hope if you're going to graze the wall, it's just a simple graze and you're not going to be wrecking yourself, as you'll see those little dots ahead. The pass from the lead has been made. Vincent Soar going to be able to make the pass, but riding on board the 70, Aaron Smith making the 2-for-1 deal, but oh boy, are they getting scrappy underneath and behind the 70 machine, as that of Morales, Norris, Rochelle, and here comes Danny Cochran now going to be trying to get through this fray of this group.
Yeah, it looks like those older tires there on the 38 of Norris and Jeremy Little, those are really starting to fade as they work their way back through the field and these guys get past them. Everybody so far done a pretty good job getting through there, but we've had a little bit of moments here and there, but everybody so far doing really good.
Rolling for now, but the question is for someone, is it too much? Diving down low, James Vining got into the outside wall and now giving up positions. 2 damaged is the 33. It looks like he might be making a run to pit road. You hate to see that for a driver that was on older tires, but looks like the tires gave up on him as he was trying to stay up front.
Yeah, got into the outside wall there, got some damage. Almost a big incident on the front stretch there between Christopher Norris and Jeremy Little, as they're still making a little bit of contact into turn 1. That's caused Zach Hall to just back out of it. And Zach's just kind of pinned back here in 18th position. Hasn't really been able to work his way forward at all.
No, this back group, as here comes Carl Pooler, who's going to dive down low, try to force that 3 wide. Will that 70 hold on? Norris backs out immediately, recognizing the situation that he's in. Side by side, 2, 3, almost 4 rows deep in the middle of this pack. And all these drivers, I mean, we throw it out there sometimes. We don't mean it in disrespect, but a lot of these drivers racing for nothing back here. They're just trying to get inside of the top 15. As Little stuck in the middle, and he's holding on. That is Zach Hall. It's going to be also seeing that of Christopher Fail trying to hold on for himself, but everyone back here just fighting and clawing for everything, yet it's really for nothing at the moment.
Yeah, just racing hard with one another. And if you're Zach Hall, I mean, you're not used to being back here with some of these guys and racing with these guys, so you're just being extra cautious around some of these guys that you're not used to being around. But, he's been able now to clear everybody. Now he's the outside of here, Jeremy Little, who's on those older tires, and he's going to make that pass here and set sail down the backstretch.
Chuck Sweeting's going to be following suit with the 42, and Sweeting's someone that if you can, if this 75 can attach to a fast driver, I think he's got a good shot of going out for a good finish for himself. Chuck Sweeting, a driver that's notoriously known for some good fuel mileage and tire saving. But obviously, he's been struggling with qualifying here this season. But for the 75, if he can just ride with Zach, has an opportunity to try to climb into that top 10 range, potentially. But we got to move up to the lead. Cedric Hunter, Vincent Sora, there's going to be side by side. Where did this speed come from the 13?
Cedric just slowly been working his way up there in that 13 machine. Had a run to the inside, wasn't able to clear Vincent off of turn 2. Now he's going to try to see if he can side drive from here down the front stretch as the battle continues here. Across the line, Cedric all the way down on the apron. Not going to quite have him cleared into turn 1, but should have the preferred line down here in turn 1 and 2.
This track, the evolution of Kansas with the Gen 6 car to now this to the Gen 7 X-Gen machine. It has been incredible to see all the different lanes that are utilized. I mean, Trevor, we think back to just only that is 6 to 7 months ago in the Gen 6 car. It was so difficult to really make passes, and we're seeing a ton of it here tonight with drivers utilizing every little bit of this track so far.
Yeah, the old Gen 6 cars and that package that we had in that machine, you're basically just stuck wherever you were. It was all momentum based, and if you had to crack the throttle just a little bit in those machines, you just lost all your momentum, weren't able to make a pass. But these guys, right, just put on a show at how racy this next gen car is, top, bottom, middle, wherever you want to put it. They're putting on a show for us tonight.
Giving us all the great action right now as drivers side by side you see on screen. That's Tom Sinchek in the 8 on the down below, and then that's Jamie Dunning on the outer groove trying to hold off, but it's Christopher Howell who is trying to hold strong in this lead group, as now going to be tied with our biggest mover of the day. Going to be that of Tom Sinjak, qualified 15th. He's now up to 5th. This 8th been methodical. He's been moving up quite well for himself. But man, it has been crazy to see how Christopher Howell, a driver that, yes, qualified 6th, but this 88, as well as the 54, they have not had the consistency of qualifying and keeping that same pace during the racing stint, but they're doing a great job staying in the top 10. And I'm looking behind, 10th place runner at the moment. It's Aaron Smith making his redemption run after being caught up with one of our first wrecks of the night. The 70 is making the climb.
Aaron's slowly working his way back up here, and the man that was involved in that incident with him, Justin Lewis, just made a pass on Cedric Hunter for second. He's running the outside line, doing what he was doing at the beginning of the in stage 1.
He's doing great right now as they're slowly starting to catch up to lap traffic. That's going to be the 25 of James Kaufman, and Kaufman's been a trouble spot when he's a lap down car. He's 17 laps down, but I'm curious on how the 25 is going to react once he gets caught by some of our leaders, as it is that of Vincent Sora, Justin Lewis, Cedric Hunter, our top 3. Trying to pull away from Brian Johnson and Tom Sinchek at the moment, but we do got to give an update of drivers further on back. Bob Skinner caught up with that James Kaufman incident earlier on. He is out of this race as James Vining has just called it a night and has parked it as Kaufman gets on the apron and gets out of the way.
Yeah, good move there by James Kaufman, knowing that, hey, I'm multiple laps down, the leaders are coming, just get out of the way, make it easy for them. That's the biggest thing you want as a leader for the lap cars, just to be predictable. That way you don't have to make any sudden course corrections and might upset your race car and cost you any time on the racetrack.
I mean, it's so difficult when you just don't know what you're going to get from some drivers, and that's kind of what Kaufman's been, is very unpredictable, being involved with some of these wrecks, and now going to be trying to hold on the best that he can. Top 3 going to be pulling away still, as really the hardest battle on track for that 5th place, 4th and 5th place position. Tom Sinchek, Ryan Johnson, and about to be Howell, and going to be added into that little bit of a mix.
And Christopher Howell, he did such a good job saving his tires there in the first stage. Was one of the quicker cars, even on the old tires, was running up there with the guys on newer tires. So, he's going to be the driver I watch out for as this race progresses in that 88 machine, and how well he was able to save those tires early on.
Mr. Howell, Ryan Johnson, that outside wall gets Collie, and it's a little bit of monkey see, monkey do of Johnson up into the outside wall, and Collie did the same exact thing, but a little bit more aggressive was the one. And now it went from 2x2 single file to let's go 3 wide out of the exit of turn 2. Smith, Morales, Bryan, and now going to be seeing that of Chuck Sweeting into the mix here, as it might move almost for a second 4 wide. As the 91 continues to back out of this corner, but the driver this helps the most, it's going to be Zach Hall. Fastest car on track is the 42.
As Zach, now that he's cleared that, the backpacks, caught up to these leaders here, and since they've been battling this whole time, him and the 75 of Sweeting been able to catch up now as they work their way through this pack.
These drivers continue to pick and choose where they want to be. Chuck Sweeting feeling confident on that outer lane, going to be trying to get by Brian Johnson, Johnson, the 3rd time tonight that he's gotten into that outside wall, yet doesn't look like it's hurting him too much. As well as seeing Danny Cochran, he's going to be up to 7th, and Danny Cochran, Zach Hall, at the early points of this stage, they were stuck 15th and 16th position together, but it was the 31 that really got through that pack a lot sooner and faster. And now going to be trying to climb into our top 5 potentially here is the 31, as he's got that Adani right in front of him for 6th, as everyone else starting to finally calm down, sort out. Seems like if you hit the wall, that's when everyone goes into panic mode.
Yeah, you get in the wall, it stacks everybody up that's behind you and around you, and really gets these guys on top of one another. But now everybody's kind of able to sort it out. Here is 31 of Danny Cochran, looks to the inside there of the 54 machine of Dunning. Wasn't able to quite get there, but might attack him here in the turn 2.
For the lead, that's where we got to move our cameras to, because here comes Lewis. Get the run on the outside. Going to be getting poked in the nose for the lead. And Vincent Sora just has to sit and watch and hope that this inside lane just has better tires on the long run. But here comes Lewis once again, but he'll dive it down low. Here comes that momentum. Blocking on the high side will be the 15. But it seems like if Lewis wants to make this outside lane work, it's got to be through 1 and 2.
Yeah, he's looking really good here on this outside line. I think the outside line, Sam's starting to work its way in. We've seen a lot more drivers go up there now, especially in this run. So he gets another good run here down the backstretch. He's going to look to the inside here of the 15. Nope, going to hold steady and go right back to the outside wall here in 3 and 4.
You also got to think a lot more drivers are running that outer lane because of the restarts, being caught side by side so much. It's that third lane that hasn't been utilized as often. But if Lewis continues to work on that outer third lane, especially late in this run, there's going to be a little bit more grip to work with. But it seems like at this moment, Justin Lewis, he's just searching for any type of fresh air. And because of making that of Vincent Sora work a little bit harder these last couple of laps, it's allowed the 13 of Cedric Hunter to close in on these drivers in front.
Yeah, and 3 kind of different lines here. This time Lewis didn't go all the way to the top, kind of ran the middle. Cedric ran a little bit of the middle line, and the 15 of Vincent Sora running the white line. So we're starting to see, as you touched on, the evolution of this racetrack with these drivers running different lines.
And these drivers up front still picking and choosing where they want to be, as we are now into the closing stages, about halfway, a little bit over halfway of this fuel run for these drivers. The question has to be, will the tires be good enough for the drivers to make it to a full stint on fuel? Which a majority of these drivers aiming around lap 100 to that of lap 95 is going to be their window for themselves. But some might think about an undercut. We saw that being utilized on Tuesday night with that of the Full Send Racing League, as that they were running in the Xfinity cars. This is the next Gen 7 cut machines, but you never know. Somebody might feel like an undercut at lap 90, just around that window where you can make it to the end, might not be the worst call for yourself.
If you're further back in the field, around the 15th, 16th position, somewhere back there, you do that undercut, you stand a chance to gain 5 or 6 spots by the end of the race if your pace sticks for the rest of that run.
As we hop on board with that of Zach Hall, who's slowly making his moves forward, now going to be throwing it down below, trying to get by that of Danny Cochran potentially here. Looks like a good run for the 42. Now going to be up to 8th place. Here comes Collie, who's trying to go for a 2-for-1 deal for himself into turn number 3. Not able to make the pass just yet, but on screen, we're seeing Hall doing a great job. He's now up to 8th place. Great, recovery for himself on this restart, especially with being stuck back in the hornet's nest of madness, back around that 18th to 16th position.
Well, I think the good thing for Zach being, the hindsight being stuck back there, they had to be really patient, so he was able to save those tires on that 42 machine. I think it's starting to pay off for him now as this run's progressed, and he's been able to work his way through everybody who's, kind of used their tires up a little bit.
Yeah, those tires have been used up, and we're starting to see that third lane being utilized a little bit more, which the driver that's going to love to see a little bit more rubber built in has got to be Justin Lewis, who's up front in 2nd place, still within striking distance, but keeping it close for now, as Hall starting to try to close in on that of Aaron Smith, as well as some other drivers ahead. But as we're in a little bit of a lull period, watching the battling currently on screen for 10th place, do want to give thanks to one of our main sponsors. We've seen them quite a bit in their top left ticker, and that's iRacing iFlag. iRacing iFlag provides drivers with the best iFlag virtual system, which gives drivers clear indications on what the flag system, what the flag state on track is looking like, as well as they have a device called a digital pit board. Digital pit board gives you tons of information. We touched on weather. Well, it gives you the weather conditions, track weather temperature conditions, as well as your average fuel run for per 5 laps and how much fuel you got left in the tank, which a lot of drivers are now starting to think, do we need to save or do we need to push, which would be great to have that digital pit board for yourself. Hey, if you'd like to get either your iRacing iFlag visual flag system or get your pit board from iRacing iFlag, go use our promo code FreakyFast2022 to get yourself set up as Zach Hall makes another pass on another driver moving forward. Trevor, all eyes are going to be on pit road here in the next 5 to 6 laps because it is about to be go time.
Pit window getting ready to open up. The strategies are going to start to play out. Same the way this race is kind of spread out here. You know, we've got little packs of 3 and 4 cars here. I don't, you know, unless something crazy happens, this might go green to the end. So pit strategy is going to be very important for these guys.
It's going to be incredibly important as we're watching on screen. This is a battle for 13th place. You've got that of Ed Perry, you got Rich Jameson playing a little bit of peekaboo, and then you've got that of Martin Morales, who Morales kind of got the advantage of getting some great stage points for the 91. But after that, it's been kind of a struggle. But for this 9 machine, Ed Perry, driver that's coming in and trying to get used to running with the league drivers. This 9 coming in with trying to just have a good run for himself. Speaking of a good run, that of the 97, this of Alexander Light, he was looking for a decent run for himself. But right now, stuck in the middle of the field in 18th place. This is not where he wanted to be after a poor qualifying of 19th, but he's running right where he qualified, so not too bad for himself. Carl Pooler, on the other hand, this is a perfect night for the 71 as we get the driver cam for Carl Pooler. Running 19th, up 4 positions from where he qualified, in top 20 to top 15. Usually it's the rain that Pooler is searching for.
Yeah, Carl's had a little bit of bad luck. Bad luck in Indianapolis. I think some bad luck, if I remember correctly, from Coda. Got spun around a couple of times. So just looking to have a solid night for himself here as he looks, fairly comfortable behind the wheel of that 71 machine as he sends it off into turn 1 behind the 97 of Alex Light.
Trying to feel as comfortable as possible for themselves, and it's where it's working out for Carl Pooler. Just sticking to his guns. Stay patient, keep learning. That's exactly where he is at the moment, running well as drivers all over the place, starting to feel the hurt on their tires, and the driver that's feeling it the worst right now of the drivers up front, the 77 of Justin Lewis. We talked about other drivers as into pit road. It's going to be Kyle Rochelle, about 3 laps too soon for my liking, but pit road for that of the 21. But Justin Lewis, right now, he is overusing his tires, recognizing that he's coming to the end of the stint. But Trevor, I'm concerned for Lewis. That car is looking extremely tight in the center of the corner.
Really tight. He actually was able to pass Vincent Sora for a split second, but just slid up the racetrack, and Vincent was able to, do a switchback and cut underneath him and got back to the lead. But, he's made that outside line work pretty much this entire run. But I think now he's really starting to feel the effects of that as they kind of falls back into the clutches here of Cedric Hunter in the 13.
As you can see, he's just trying to work this wheel and letting off as much as possible to make sure he doesn't hit the wall on the center of the corner. He's kind of doing what we call a diamond corner, where he just sails it in there, trying to make sure he doesn't hit the apex of the corner and hit the wall at that point, and then get the car straight, hammer down the throttle, and hope that you get a big enough launch. And it's working for now, but hey, you know that pit stops are coming close. You don't want to throw away this race just because you're trying to get so over-aggressive trying to make this pass right now.
Yeah, and, he's done a really good job recovering from that incident. Apparently the damage that he might have had in that first caution not really affecting him there. He's got a really good run off of turn 4. Gets right to the back bumper over 15 of Vincent Sora, but just nowhere to go for the 77.
We talked about it earlier, the 3 different lanes that are being utilized. Well, we're seeing it right now with our top 3. Vincent Sora hugging that white line. Cedric Hunter just a little bit off the white line, trying to get a little bit of air, but it's Justin Lewis with the dramatic 3rd lane trying to be utilized, and right on board with the 13 of Cedric Hunter. We are now entered our fuel run when drivers can come into pit road and they can make it to the end, but for some they might want to push their tires and fuel just a little bit further, which means around that of lap 100 to 105 could be the window for drivers that are pushing it to their max.
Yeah, I think for these top 5, 6 drivers, I think they're all probably going to pit within about 1 to 2 laps of each other. Typically, is how these fuel runs play out. But I mean, if you're further back, like Brandon Colley, Brian Johnson, Danny Cochran, 9th through 13th, you might take the chance of coming in a little earlier and pitting, or maybe staying out late and seeing if you get a caution late in the pit cycle.
Keeping our eyes on the battling for second place. We want to give note, though, of drivers that have come to pit road. We saw that at the 21 of Kyle Rochelle hit pit road just in this past lap. Going to be Jeremy Little. Coming into pit road now is going to be the 89 of Christopher Fail. So a lot of back marker drivers coming into pit road, but I'm not surprised by that because some of the drivers that have to come in now are drivers that decided to not pit under our stage break and went with track position. So now they're forced to come into pit road after being out on track for as long as they were.
Yeah, those 6-lap older tires from what the guys up front have probably really starting to scream at you. So come in, get those fresh tires, and try to make up as much track position as you can and hold on there till the end of the race. But you just got to be cautious. The pit road, we saw it Tuesday night, the pit road here is deceptively tight. And, these cars sometimes can be a handful to get stopped and a handful on the transition. So something we're going to have to watch out for as these green flag pit stops continue.
Green flag pit stops underway. And for Christopher Fail, kind of ironic with his last name, but he got caught with failing to slow down in time. Going to be caught speeding. So a 40-second hold to the 89, who is now going to go a lap down or more for himself. Mark Morales Jr. now going to be hitting pit road, but he's going to be making a major mistake, an unsafe pit entry for the 91 as he missed the pit entry zone. And more drivers thinking about pitting. Now our first of our front runners, the 70, making the indication he's going to be coming into pit road. Trevor, it's on. Do not get caught with a mistake.
We've seen 2 already. As Aaron gets it slowed down, looks like he's going to get pit road cleanly there in the 70 machine. And right behind him, the 42 of Zach Hall and the 31 of Danny Cochran.
All coming into pit road, and these are going to be the front runners trying to go with the undercut for themselves as other drivers able to get rolling. As do give note, Martin Morales, I thought he was going to get caught with an unsafe pit entry, but iRacing gifted the 91. Looks like he might be all right. As I say that, though, he is being held for himself as drivers. 4 tires and fuel, or will it be 2 tires? That was another thing, Trevor, that we were hearing from drivers, was the potential of just taking 2 tires to try to loosen up these cars.
Yeah, 2 tires. Looks like the 42 might have just taken 2 tires there on his pit stop. But yeah, 2 tires in these cars, because you don't burn up the left sides as much as you do the rights, it will loosen this race car up. But the question is we get a caution?
And just like that, gonna have to take the wave around. So the advantage the 42 is hoping for, throw it out the window as yellow flag strikes. And just like that, it is gonna be Vincent Sora and others gifted with themselves as that yellow flag, trying to figure out where it even came from.
Yeah, not quite sure what happened, but
we'll see right here. As we're going to see the 31 out of pit road after getting service done, and then just loops it.
It's so easy to do in these cars. Just get on the power a little too hard, lose the back end, and 31 machine spins it around on the apron and brings out the yellow flag.
Simple, easy, and clean, and you hope that you were able to get out of there safely. But for the 31, that was not the case. But for us up in the booth, with the time of this yellow, we're going to take our final break of the evening. When we come back, we'll give you the final call here for that of the Roasted Gems Coffee 225. You are watching the World Series of Sim Racing, Roasted Gems Cup Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. Thank you for being with us here for the first 100 laps. Let's see how the final 50 are going to go down as we are getting ourselves rolling here. Thank you for joining us. We'll see you in just a few moments.
wins.
4, 3, 2, 1, green screen. No layer grip whatsoever, up sideways. Sideways everywhere. Come on, man, do what you can. The vibration in this car is the worst vibration that I've ever had, and the shifter's broken again.
And we are back to green flag racing. We almost had a quick caution that didn't allow us to have this restart as James Hackworth Jr. gets sent off into that of the grass after a missed shift by Carl Pooler. Got everyone, all the shenanigans kicked in as we are now in our final less than 50 laps to go here tonight. It's that of Vincent Sora, Cedric Hunter, Lewis. It's that of Thompson checking out. Going to be your top 5 running hard here tonight. And thank you for joining us here on Saturday night for the WSSR Roasted Gems Coffee Series on Freaky Fast Broadcasting. I'm Sam Dyer. Got Trevor Earhart with me as well as Robert Warrior Jr. doing productions in the background. Trevor, a very odd caution that brought out with Danny Cochran, and interesting, he left immediately after bringing it a yellow that didn't give him any damage.
Yeah, just, one of those things where you just kind of feel like you made a mistake, maybe just felt like he didn't have anything left for the race and left, but it sets us up here for an exciting 47 laps as Cedric Hunter's gone to the lead, and here comes Lewis to the outside of Vincent Sora.
Maybe this is a game plan from Vincent Sora. Let them go. Let them feel like they're using up those tires, and then he'll strike later on as the 15 now looms following the 13 machine of Cedric Hunter. But will this hurt his tires on the long run? A little bit of a late block. 3 wide now going to be for the lead. And Lewis with the better run. He'll have the lead for now, but diving it down low. Pinched is the 15. Sora still holding strong, but it's Justin Lewis that will take the lead and run away with this as the bickering for second continues.
Yeah, Vincent's been in that clean air all night long, so it'll be, interesting to see how his car reacts now to being in dirty air. As we've seen these guys be super tight following each other. And Vincent gets on the apron there, a little bit of a wiggle from the 15. That's going to allow the 13 of Cedric Hunter to get back by him on the backstretch.
And now a little bit of taste of what he's been dealing to other drivers. That dirty air has been so disastrous for some, and Cedric Hunter hasn't really been able to make any passes here tonight on the 15 because of that dirty air. But now Justin Lewis finally gets that clean air, doesn't have to worry about that of Vincent Sora. He's now just working that outer lane that has been kind of having a lot of other drivers testing, and it's interesting to see that the 77 is the only one that's up inside of our top, that of 8 that are loving the outer lane. Everyone else kind of following that one lane on the inside.
Yeah, Lewis has been consistent with that top line. We see Brandon Carley now start to work his way up there, just kind of getting that car where there's clean air on the nose where it'll turn a little bit better, but right behind Cedric Hunter and Vincent Sora, here comes Tom Simchek and Christopher Howell, guys that have quietly been lurking in our top 5 pretty much all race long, looking to see if they can make a move late in this race.
Yeah, Brandon Colley's been phasing back and forth after that last pit stop was in pit road for quite a long time to make sure that he's got any type of damage repaired, and he is now back up to 6th place. And then a driver that was caught up in some other messes, now side by side battling for 7th, Brian Johnson, who's been getting clobbered into the wall a couple of times with Jamie Dunning, but the driver that we were riding on for quite a while, Ed, you know, seeing Ed in the 9, what a run for himself. Running right now 9th place, qualified all the way back in last place practically, and now is running inside of our top 10, looking for a great run for himself, but certainly the chaos is behind the 9.
Chaos behind the 9 and in front of the 9 as Lewis got into the wall in turn 2 and lost four spots there, and Cedric Hunter and Vincent Soren battle for the lead.
Yes, issues for our leader, and now Cedric Hunter, the opportunity to have the lead. Will that outside lane hold, though, is the major question, as the 15 has been feeling the most comfortable in that white line, and can he get the run as well? Here comes Colley, who was following that of Lewis. Everyone's now starting to close in, and this is what we love about these next-gen cars, is you can try to pull away in those first 5 laps, but once we get to 10 laps into a run, you lose all that ground.
Yeah. The racing that these cars can put on, and the durability now with this new damage model. We've seen Lewis into the wall multiple times. Brandon Colley smacked the wall, and yet here they both are, you know, still within a shot to win it, both in our top 5 after getting into the outside wall. So that just speaks to the volumes of how, you know, good these next-gen cars are.
Tom Sinjak, who's going to be blocking off the 77, but it's going to be that of Hunter with the nose, feeling good for himself, as going to be seeing some of these drivers still searching for their first win this season. That for 2nd and 4th position. Tom Sinjak, Justin Lewis still searching for that win. Brandon Colley back in 5th, still lurching. Hal still searching, but it's our front 2 that have been up front. They've been threatening almost each and every week for a win. They will have at least 1. They're trying to become the first driver to have 2 this season.
Yeah, Cedric with the win at Las Vegas after some contact between Colley and Vincent Sora. There's Vincent looks to the inside. That car looks a little bit loose on the bottom there, but good run off the corner for him. And they're going to continue to battle, you know, side by side down the front stretch. But Tom Sinchek right here behind both of them. He's looking to make a move as he gives a shove to the 13.
A late apex machine, a huge push to Cedric Hunter, but now going to be right at the quarter panel. Could be losing a little bit of that rear end with Cedric, and here comes the surge. Will the draft be strong enough, and can he clear is the question, and it looks like for Vincent Sora, thought about coming up in between the 8, and Tom Sinchek recognized that, backed off. Great call by Sinchek as we look further back into the field. These are drivers that are battling between themselves to see if they can stay inside of our top 20. And they certainly are looking aggressive right now, watching the 27 at the moment, trying their best to figure out how to get by that for 11th place, excuse me, of Perry, Rochelle, and going to be that of Coxwell, holding strong up front.
Yeah, you know, great run. You know, you touched on it a little bit earlier there, Ed Perry in the 9 machine. You know, different pit strategy there. Pitted a little early, got that caution, came back down pit road, got tires. Having a great run for himself here as he battles Kyle Rochelle for 11th place and not too far out of the top 10. But these guys, you know, being aggressive, these laps winding down, trying to get all the spots they can get before this race finishes.
Be right on board with Zach Hall as he gets a great showing of the battling for the drivers that are trying to get into the top 10 or stay inside the top 15. This 42 strategy didn't work out. Same for Aaron Smith behind him. That yellow, disastrous for the strategies that they were going for. Just weren't able to see if the 2 tires was going to work. They're going to need another yellow if they want to try once again with tire strategy, you know, qualms between themselves. But the drivers in front for the pack, it is getting dangerous as Perry is dropping back. But I got to say, John Peel in 10th place for the 07. What a run for himself as well.
Yeah, somebody we haven't, you know, pretty much talked about all night. Just been quiet, methodical. Started 17th, now up inside the top 10 here. Is seeing Ed Perry go to battle here in turn 3. Perry dives it inside. Peel keeps it to the outside, but great run for that 07 machine. Just nice, quiet night for him. Right, running right here inside the top 10.
We got to go back up to the lead as Vincent Sora takes that point, but it's the battling for 3rd, 3 wide, and it's stuck in the middle. It's going to be Justin Lewis. Cedric Hunter got a bad launch out of turn 4, which allowed the 15 to pull away. Now it's going to be Tom Sinchek taking that lead spot, and Jamie Lee Dunning, the 54, is in the mix and giving a huge shove to this 88 machine.
big shove there to the 88 of Christopher Howell, sent Howell into the corner, and now Sinchek dives it to the inside of Vincent Sora for the lead, as these guys keep trading positions up here for the battle for first through sixth place.
Swap it back and forth. Who's going to take what position? And right now, Cedric Hunter are going to be helping out the 8. Saw the assistance earlier in the battling when Sinchek was helping out Hunter earlier. About 5 to 10 laps ago. Well, 13 trying to help, says, you know what, can't help you anymore. Trying to get any type of assistance in the momentum as the 77, the 88, and the 1 try to make those outer lanes work.
Yeah, here comes Justin Lewis again after having the lead, getting into the outside wall in turn 2. Still using that outside line, not afraid to be up there as he's working his way back up. Now side by side with Tom Sinchek in turn 1.
The laps continue to tick away, and Brandon Colley brushing the outside wall through the center of the corner. The 1 might be losing the draft of this lead group, but the lead group now goes from 7 down to 6 as here comes Sinchek diving it down low. And the goal of these drivers, try to clear, hold on, but Kansas given too much ability, too much area to try to hold off. But Vincent Sora, he's trying to defend the inside, the outside, everywhere he can. The 15, the kid, he's trying to make sure he can get back into victory lane.
Vincent Sora's dominated this race from the drop of the green flag, but I'm telling you right now, Justin Lewis has something to say about it as he keeps running that outside line. That 77 machine, good run down the backstretch. Is now Cedric Hunter looks to the inside of Tom Sinchek for 3rd.
Right on board with 54 of Dunning, who's just getting a great picture of all the different lanes that are being utilized, as well as seeing the 88 of Christopher Howell in front of him. But where do you go? Lewis once again, extremely close to that outside wall on the exit of turn number 4. And we've already seen that story before of the 77 getting to the wall. Will it happen again as we've got 30 laps to go and a ton of time to see these tires go away? What a squeeze, what a hold on. Contact though to Cedric Hunter. Hal never even let the foot off. He just continued to run over the 13.
I don't think he expected that checkup to happen as much as it did in the 88 and runs into the back of the 13, but great save by everybody there. That could have been big for our top 5 as Colley gets loose. Off
into the wall.
4. Saves it too. I mean, they're being aggressive, Sam, as these laps wind down.
That bumper is for these drivers, got to be careful. And for the 88, it has been a magnet here for the past 2 laps, having the 1 in front of them and then the 13 getting loose. And also going to be bringing in a couple of other drivers. Chuck Sweeting now going to be involved with this group. And what was looking like a pack of 7, all within a second, and practically going to put a blanket over them. Dunning's going to get in the wall now through that of turn 4. I think that over-aggressive racing that we just saw for those 20 laps is now backfiring for the majority of those front runners.
Yeah, they've used up those tires racing as hard as they were with each other, and that's allowed Brian Johnson and Chuck Sweeting in the 75, the 28, and the 75 to catch this group, and now they're going to have something to say about this.
And we're seeing some of these front runners falling back. Ed Perry now going to have an opportunity to gain a couple of more positions to stay inside of the top 10 as up front, it's still Vincent Sora, and the revolving door of who's in second, well, that's going to be Tom Sinchek, and Justin Lewis, once again, back in 3rd. As you see here, the battling for 6th place. 13 is Cedric Hunter, trying to figure out how to get by the 1 of Brandon Colley in front of him. And here comes Brian Johnson, throwing it down below. Dive bump, slide job, get it done any way you can. And the 28 doesn't have enough space to slide up. Here comes the surge on the backstretch.
Yeah, run that the 13 got down the backstretch with the help of the 75, but not able to really go anywhere with it, as I think Colley was a little slow there on the outside line. That checked up Cedric Hunter, and that allowed Brian Johnson to not only get by him, but get to the inside of Brandon Colley down the front stretch.
And plays to first, all within 2 seconds of one another. But this battling going on for 5th is where the action is for this lead pack. Top 3 also pretty close to one another. But really, the danger zone of a potential caution is in this pack that we're watching right now. Some teammates, some allies, some just new to the series and open to hold on, as they are all getting packed like sardines. Here comes the 9 of Ed Perry to the inside to get by Dunning.
Yeah, Perry got by Dunning now to the inside of Brandon Colley, as Justin Lewis was able to get by Tom Sinchek, running that outside line again. But Perry doing a great job in that 9 machine, just working his way back up through the field.
Got to go back up to the leaders because there was a big scuffle of almost seeing Justin Lewis. He ran up the 15, losing some time on the exit turn 2. Thought Tom Sinchek was going to have a better run, but this hard side drafting by Lewis gave Sinchek, it made him lose all the momentum he had for a quick moment.
And then Tom got really tight there on the exit of turn 4, had to check up. That's going to allow the 77 to possibly clear him down into 1 as he sends it down in there. He's going to slide up the track. But that's just
Driver
allowing
slow.
Vincent.
Caution, front stretch. It's Ed Perry.
Oh, it's unfortunate for Ed. We were talking about him having such a great run. The curse of the commentator strikes for the 9 machine.
I don't know what the heck Ed was doing, but this replay is not good as he doesn't hit anything or anyone. He just pulls over and slams on the brake. It calls it a race, and this timing is perfect for some of the drivers further on back.
It makes you wonder if he had some equipment issues, some sim issues with that, within his rig that caused that. Because, he was being really competitive, but, Sam, that just looks like he might have had an equipment issue and just pulled down to the inside of the racetrack to get out of everybody's way.
And then he starts rolling again and just putters around like nothing happened and then comes back to a hold. It's such a bizarre thing. Something's wrong with the 9 in some fashion. I don't know if we're going to get any word on what it was, but Ed Perry, there is something wrong with the 9 because he is still not off track. He's off onto the apron, but he is not moved. He'll move here on the replay, but then he just slowly putters off to the pit exit, and this is where he's been lying for the past almost minute or so, and this is at the absolute worst place to be sitting.
Yeah, because these drivers are going to come in and take tires here, and he's just sitting on pit exit, so these guys are going to come flying off as though it looks like now that he's got
he's finally moving.
Machine rolling here, but, that's part of sim racing. Sometimes you have equipment issues, and things like that happen, but good job for him, able to get that car. Looks like he was able to get those issues fixed. And
we just got word his Oculus just died in the middle of him racing, and he pulled over, didn't hit anyone, but his Oculus died for the 9, and now drivers able to come into pit road, and this gave opportunities for some drivers that think about strategy potentially, but it looks like no one's testing the 2-tire strategy. Everyone 4 tires and fuel and back out on track for a less than 20 lap stint that we're about to get into.
Yeah, and if this is anything like the first 20 laps of that last stint, I'm expecting there to be chaos and carnage with how hard those guys are racing. In those last 20 laps, we're going to see just as hard racing, if not harder racing, with these last 20 laps of this race, Sam.
Well, here's the thing, right? We've seen a multitude of different strategies being thrown out. Vincent Sora showed the be patient for 5 laps, let everyone be aggressive, and then I'll take the lead back and I'll hold the lead. While you saw other drivers be so aggressive for the first 10 laps that then they never could recover after they were done with 10 laps. So you've got a 20-lap stint. You got to figure out, do you be patient for the first 10 laps and then take off? Or do you be patient for 5 and then be aggressive? Whoever is trying to get into the lead in the first 5 laps, I don't see them having an opportunity or a chance to win here tonight.
It's going to be very interesting how this plays out. I don't think anybody's going to want to hold back, though. With 20 laps to go in this race, I don't think these guys are going to be patient with one another. I think it's who can get that clean air, get to the front, is pretty well going to be able to control this race. We've seen it with Vincent Sora all night. Once he's gotten to the front, he's kind of been able to control everybody behind him.
As drivers are getting stacked up and ready to go, we got one more sponsor. We got to give a big thanks here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, and that's Advanced Sim Racing. Well, you've got yourself an iRacing iFlag. You've got their iFlag virtual flag system. You've also got their pit board. You've also now just gotten your admin box, so you're ready to be an admin or race control. Well, you got to figure out what to connect that all to. Don't just connect it to your desk like what you might have for your steering wheel. Instead, let's get a racing rig, and this is the place to go. Advanced Sim Racing is the fastest growing North American racing sim chassis manufacturer as well as digital motorsports equipment retailer. You got all your equipment you need. You got all the assets that are necessary to get out there on track and get your iRacing career started. Even if you've already been racing for a while, get your best racing rig you can get with Advanced Sim Racing. Use our discount code FreakyFast5 for 5% off. We're stacked. We're ready. It's going to be less than 20 laps to go, but Trevor, I don't know if there is someone to circle. Vincent Sora has been the most dominant driver out there so far based off of laps led. But is there a driver that you're looking for to win, or do you have an underdog that you're looking out for?
Justin Lewis, he's been running that top line. He's gotten great runs. He's gotten to the lead before. I expect the 77 to be strong, and not too far behind him, Christopher Howell. I mean, he's been patiently, just quietly in the top 5. We saw him get up to 3rd, in that first stage, so I'll be interested to see how that 88 machine does as well. But dark horse, I would have to say Brian Johnson. He's now up to 4th, just kind of came out of nowhere. Hasn't really been up there all night, but now here he is in the top 5 with 19 laps to go.
Well, down up in the booth, if I'm gonna have to pick, I think I'm gonna have to go with the easy pickings of Vincent Sora. But if I have to go with the underdog pick, watch out for Cedric Hunter back in 6th place. He might be a driver that could try to steal this one away. If you're in chat, we'll type in who you think's gonna win, because it's gonna be 19 laps to go, and we're in the restart zone. We're green for the Roasted Gems Coffee 225, and Vincent Sora, like he's been doing for almost every restart, he's gone. He's got a half a car length lead to 2 car length lead, and he's out of there.
In the battle now for 2nd, make that 3rd as Sinchek's able to clear the 77. Johnson now to the inside of Justin Lewis. He's able to clear him down the backstretch, so Justin goes from starting 2nd now all the way back to 4th, as Brian Johnson now drives it down to the inside of Tom Sinchek for 2nd.
Raping, hitting. There's a lot of drivers scattering behind. That's going to be Rich. That's going to be Richard Wilson as well. Others, and oh no, Lewis into the wall and spinning and wrecking, and that's going to be collecting the majority of the drivers from that 5th back to 10th. And now drivers trying to slow up and not trying to get more involved.
That was violent by the 77 of Justin Lewis. Just looks like it snapped loose on him in the middle of the corner, and up into the wall he went, and for those guys behind him, just nowhere to go.
Majority of those drivers involved going to be, so we're going to take a replay here, but like you noted on, just snaps loose. And this is with the fresh tires. Sometimes drivers don't recognize how loose you can get if you get in the throttle, and then snaps back with the overcorrection. Majority of our front 5 were able to get on by. Oh, just gave it into the 88, but Sweeting, as well as Dunning, Colley, and you're also going to be seeing that of Jameson. Kyle Rochelle, 21, he's holding those brakes for dear life to make sure he doesn't get into the 54, but does get in. And then you see Cogswell also trying to get on through for the 27. But about that, it's 6 drivers all involved with this one. And that's not even the first. That was the accident that brought out the yellow. But there also were drivers on the backstretch that got into the outside wall that had their issues. And that's the thing I was more concerned about. Martin Morales was involved with that one, and a couple of other drivers, James Hackworth Jr. But with that yellow, this now puts us within about a 12 to 11 lap shootout now.
Yeah, and so that takes the save a little bit early in this 19 lap run to now I think you're just gonna have all out aggression, and based on what we just saw, Sam, we might see more of the same.
I mean, I wouldn't be surprised by that. But I will say this though, drivers that might think about saving just a little bit, maybe 2-3 laps, that's such an advantage to have at the end of a run. Like I've been talking on, it's about a 10-lap window of, if you're being aggressive on your tires for those first 10 laps of a run, those first 5 laps compared to those final 5 laps of a 10-lap run can change dramatically on how that car is feeling. So drivers do got to find that equal medium of how they want to attack this run if we stay green. Now, I think that's something that we both can throw out, Trevor, of this race easily can go into overtime if needed.
Yeah, cautions tend to breed cautions, and especially with how aggressive and how, on top of one another everybody's been in this race, very likely that we see another caution, or, we could see it go green all the way to the end, and this could, it could go either way, but I would be willing to bet that we at least have one more caution before this race is over.
Well, with this caution, it's been caution number 7, 6th on-track incident to bring out a yellow. We had one yellow caution that came out for our stage break back at the end of lap 40, where we got to see that of Vincent Sora winning that stage. And now trying to go for the stage win as well as the race win for the 15. Ryan Johnson, who'd gotten in the wall at least 3 or 4 times here tonight. 28 still got speed in it. I don't understand how, but like you talked about, the durability of these cars, they can be so fragile in one moment, but yet built like a tank another. That's what we're seeing from the 28. But after that first wreck, we do have multitudes of drivers that are caught up with required damage. Justin Lewis, who is one of our front runners trying to go for a win, required damage. He's just parked it and it's called a night. Jamie Lee Dunning in pit road with required damage, as well as Richard Wolfsifer, who is going to be in pit road and looking like their night is done as well. Adding to the fray of Danny Cochran, who brought out one of our late yellows after green flag pit stops for the 31 and then just parking it after bringing out the yellow. Then James Vining, as well as Bob Skinner, both have parked it here tonight. Trevor, we're racing here. Drivers getting set, ready to get rolling. But for Vincent Sora, I mean, he's been seeing a revolving door behind him. How do you try to set up for this run, knowing that the driver that was preferring that third lane is now no longer up there?
I think you just got to keep doing what you've been doing all night, running the bottom. We saw how that worked out Tuesday night with Ross Tatum when he ran the bottom all night long. So I think for Vincent, just keep doing the same that you've been doing all night, and just let those guys battle behind you and see what you can do about throwing blocks if you need to.
Well, the drivers that's been up front for the majority of the night, that's been Vincent Sora coming and surviving. It's the 28 of Brian Johnson. Then you've got that of Tom Sinchek, Cedric Hunter, Aaron Smith with a recovery run for himself. Howell going to be in 6th. Then you've got Cogswell, Jamison, Hal Hall, as well as Light, your top 10, ready to get rolling here. It's going to be a little bit of a shootout. Who's going to survive? Let's find out as we're green once again for the Roasted Gems Coffee 225 here at Kansas.
And Vincent with another great restart, a little bit later in the restart zone than he had been. Got a great jump, 3 car lengths out on the 28 of Brian Johnson. And Tom Sinchek now, they go to battle for second place.
Trying to make sure that they don't run into one another, but this is now go time. If you're not in the top 5, you have to get aggressive at this moment and start moving forward, and that's exactly what that of Jonathan Cogswell is doing in the 27. But up front, it is Vincent Sora, Brian Johnson, Tom Sinchek, and Cedric Hunter that are on the go. Aaron Smith the second, the wild card. He was qualified up front in 7th place. He was battling in Cedric Hunter as well as Brian Johnson, very aggressive arcing into turn number 1, but this 70 machine questioning how he's going to go. But the 42 of Zach Hall saw that third lane work for Lewis. He's now going to give it an opportunity to try to crack into the top 5.
And Zach Hall's just been mired back in traffic all night since some pit road issues, and finally making his way back up here using that third line to his advantage. So he tries to make a move as Cedric Hunter and Brian Johnson. We got one spinning on the front stretch. Looks like the 38
Norris in down, staying in the grass. He doesn't want to go into pit lane because that would give him a penalty, so he'll stay in the grass. He's drifting, he's holding on, and what a save by the 38. Will continue to stay green. 12 laps to go here tonight, and it's Vincent Sora, Tom Sinchek, bobbing, weaving, trying to find any type of groove to get moving forward as here comes Hall trying to get by that of the 88 of Hal, but Hal defending well for himself as it's side by side, also in front for 4th place.
That side by side between Aaron and Brian Johnson, and right behind him Zach Hall and Jonathan Cogswell going at it as they got kind of stacked up behind the 88 of Christopher Howell.
Hal continuing to just defend the best that he can, and he'll try to pull away, trying to figure out how to attack that of Brian Johnson as well as Smith. Oh, they're wrecking behind.
We got another late race caution here, Sam. Kind of what we were talking about, cautions breeding cautions, and interesting to see. We had 4 sets of tires tonight. I haven't really been keeping track, but interesting to see if anybody has a set left to maybe come down and play a little bit of pit strategy.
And it's an odd caution to come out, and it's once again a driver pulling off on the side of the road and bringing out a yellow, the 89 of Christopher Fail, bringing out this one in the 89 machine. It looks like he was already dealing with a broken toe length and just decided, you know what, I'm not going to make it to pit road. I'm just going to pull over to the side of the road and hope that a yellow doesn't come out. But here at that of Kansas, usually if you're on the racing surface, that's when the yellow will come out if you come to a stop. But that is not happening here tonight. That is the 3rd time that we've seen a driver pull off to the side of the road and then a caution comes out.
Yeah, Kansas, one of those tracks, it seems like, where for the yellow, it's really strict. So, I mean, if you're anywhere on the track, it looks like it will throw the yellow because, like, you're right, Sam. That's the 3rd time we've seen it. We saw it with Danny Cochran when he spun out of the racing line. We saw it with the 9. Granted, the 9 of Ed Perry, or less, was on the front stretch, right there at the apron. But just interesting interesting that we've been seeing these cautions thrown these cars way off the racing line.
And now an opportunity for some drivers to think about pit road and tires. Now, the reason I throw that out is because some drivers might think about using a set. The drivers that were up front, they only got about that 6 to 8 laps of green flag racing. And for Brandon Colley, the number 1, he comes into pit road, going to be taking 4 tires and fuel, and he'll start back in 17th place. And the driver in front of him, Ed Perry and a couple of others, they're going to be on anywhere from 8-lap-old tires to 13-lap-old tires. I mean, that's a small advantage to have, but you're going to take any advantage you can get at this point of the stage if you're this far back as the one was back in that 13th position.
Brandon back there after getting, some damage in that wreck with the 77 of Justin Lewis. So been on pit road a couple times to get that car fixed. So might as well take fresh tires and see if you can make up any positions. I mean, it's not going to hurt you. But I think for these top guys, I think, Sam, that they might not have any tires left on our pit road or just didn't want to give up the track position.
They didn't want to give up the track position. The majority of our front runners still have one more set in pit road, but at this point in this stage of the race, you're not giving up that track position. You're not coming into pit road. Even if we go into overtime, you have to stay out.
Yeah, I think we've seen it, how important being up front, having that clean air is, but knowing that you have that one extra set of tires, if we get, a quick caution here, it might be worth, just trying out. If you're further back, outside the top 5, it might be something worth trying because we've seen how much quicker those new tires are. We saw it with Martin Morales there in stage 1.
And Colley was one of those drivers that had a quick 4-lap stint with fresh rubber, was able to climb up that of 6 to 7 lap positions for himself. So in theory, this could be a net gain for the 1, especially on the fact that the drivers in front of him feels like he's much faster than them, as we are still waiting for the lights to go off to give us the 1 lap to go indication. I mean, Trevor, we've seen a lot of hard racing this season. I mean, the last 3 races have been incredible to watch. We had the Las Vegas finish where Vincent Sora got bumped by the 1, and it was Cedric Hunter basically gifted a win. Indianapolis, we got to see that Brian Johnson have to hold off Vincent Sora and Tom Senchak. Then last week, Vincent Sora winning at COTA. Here tonight, it's looking set up for another incredible finish here for the WSSR.
Yeah, another great finish lining up here for us tonight. And a lot of the same players that we've seen the first 3 weeks. You got Aaron Smith up there. I mean, he was going to be up there at COTA had it not been for a bump going into turn 1. Cedric Hunter, the winner from Vegas. Tom Senchak, with a great run there coming out of turn 4 at Indianapolis, had a chance to maybe steal the race away from Brian Johnson, and Brian Johnson, in 5th place. So, these are all guys that we're used to seeing up here, and they're going to race each other hard, and I expect to see another great finish here tonight.
It's going to be a 6 laps, a little bit of a sprint. And now we've been talking about save your tires. Maybe you could try different strategies. Trevor, you've been hitting on it, that each restart, it turns into a go, go, go. And at this point, there's no saving. It is all about getting up front and passing the 15 of Vincent Sora. Now, who's going to get it done here tonight? This is only race number 4 of the season for that of the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series. And there's a lot of great racing to come. Next week, they're going to be at Martinsville, but we will not be covering that here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting. We'll be back for Super Speedway Racing in 2 weeks at Daytona. But tonight, who's winning at that of Kansas? Green flags in the air. Vincent Sora already gone, and with a car length ahead of everyone else.
Yeah, and again, just a different starting spot in the restart zone, able to give him 3 or 4 car lengths, but the runs second and third have been able to get on him out of turn 2, really close that gap back up down the backstretch. Just Senchak and Cedric Hunter battle it out for second place.
Battling for second. This is going to be battling that's going on further back in the field, but right now, all eyes have to be on second place. Tom Senchak as well as Cedric Hunter. You have to make this pass now, because if you continue to bicker back and forth on side-by-side, you're going to lose too much time to our leader, Vincent Sora. It's going to be 2 tenths. Still going to be side-by-side for second place. I mean, Trevor, 5 laps to go. Somehow, they're still gaining on the 15.
Yeah, still catching the 15. It looks like Senchak's going to be able to clear the 13 there of Cedric Hunter. And now you've got to figure out, okay, I've gotten past Cedric. And now I got to figure out how am I going to get past that 15 machine who's been so dominant here tonight.
How do you get by the one that's been leading the most laps here tonight and is looking for another win potentially for himself? Brian Johnson, also Zach Hall, going to be right on top of one another. Their squabble lets the 88 of Hal dive it down low. Not able to make it stick as that is Zach Hall throws it into the throttle into another gear as the 42 just takes off. And now going to make the pass for 5th place. Recovery for himself, but it's going to be single filing out for our front 5. Where do they go? Because further back in the field, it is a madhouse for drivers that got fresh rubber that are trying to move forward, but we're coming up to 4 laps to go for our leaders. That of Vincent Sora. Now 3 laps to go, and he just has to hold off one driver. That's Tom Sinchek right now.
Yeah, Tom got really close there at the entrance to turn 1, backed out a little bit. Lost a little bit of time on the exit of 2, but Tom's been able to close back in from about 3/10 back on that 15 machine, and if these two get to racing here in the next lap or so, that might bring in the 13 of Cedric Hunter and the 70 of Aaron Smith in the last lap.
Looking at how they're running, if anyone's going to beat out Vincent Sora, they're going to need this race to stay green. As here comes Tom Sinchek, the run that he needed. Because if you have to go into overtime, that's only 2 laps, and it looks like it's always the 3rd lap when you start to see the pressure. And there it is, the contact, the bump, and giving it to that of the 15. Further back, drivers are getting into trouble. Christopher Norris is going to be way off pace, but here they come again. It's going to be that of Cedric Hunter now giving a little bit of a shove, trying to add a little bit of flair to this madness. And here comes Smith, Hull, and everyone else trying to get up front as we're coming up to the white flag. 2 more opportunities, and Cedric Hunter, he's got to close in because Tom Sinchek might give the best opening to go for the lead.
Yeah, Tom gave Vincent a bump in turn 1 last time. See if he does it again here this time. Not quite close enough for the 8 machine. He's going to have one more chance down in turn 3. Cedric just sitting there waiting, maybe thinking if he might get gifted here another win.
He's closer. He's a little bit closer, but he's too far back. He backed off so much. Sinchek just didn't trust the gap that he had and added turn number 4. Vincent Sora make it back to back. The kid winner here at Kansas.
Great drive by Vincent Sora all night long. Dominated this race from start to finish. Good effort by Tom Sinchek there in the last couple laps. Getting to the bumper, Vincent Sora gave him a bump. Wasn't able to move that 15 machine off that bottom line, but great race all night long for those guys up front.
Took the shot, wasn't able to move them, and you know, the 15's bumper, there has to be weights back there. With how many times he's gotten hit and not moved, the only driver that's been able to really get the 15 out of shape whenever he gets contact has been the one of Brandon Colley back at Las Vegas. But since then, it has been Vincent Sora staying patient, not giving up, and once again finishing up front with his 2nd win. But it's gonna be crazy to look at the stats of the 15 because it's just been pure consistency. The worst finish that we've seen that of, you know, this 15 have all season long was 3rd place at the Indy Oval. But it has been all top 3s in another win for Vincent Sora. But for us here tonight, don't worry, the coverage is not over. We got the post-race show. We are going to be talking to our top 3 and then talking about the future of what WSSR has coming up. But for us right now, we're going to step aside. When we come back, it's the post-race show here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting.
Welcome back, ladies and gentlemen, to the post-race show here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting for the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, race number 4 here at Kansas. And it was a barn burner. Got to see drivers try different strategies out, but it was a 6-lap shootout at the end where we almost got to see a little bit of a change for the lead. Didn't happen though, but we got our top 3. We're going to start things off with third place finisher, that is Cedric Hunter, and get the 13's point of view on how that finish went down. Cedric, you were up front for majority of the night, but man, what was going through your mind when you saw that it was going to be a 6-lap shootout at the very end?
I was pretty excited. I felt pretty decent on the short run. I knew that that they were going to battle. The draft and everything was crazy tonight, and you can get wicked runs, especially if you kind of darted off the top. And it was, there was a lot of multi-groove racing, so it was really fun. But had a shot for it. Got a big run with about 2 to go on the backstretch, coming off of 2. And I don't think I could have done anything with that run, so I tried to push Tom, and I guess he thought I was going for the move and kind of moved last second, couldn't push him. And we came home third, good finish. This track felt a lot like Vegas, and so yeah, we had pretty good pace. Hopefully we can keep up the momentum though.
Yeah, Cedric, the track very similar to Vegas, and you walked away with a win there at Vegas, third place here tonight. But next week, off to Martinsville, completely different beast in the short track that is. You want to take this momentum with you, but what do you kind of walk us through what your thoughts are going into next week?
I'm nervous for it, for the simple fact that I just don't feel like I have a good handling on with these cars on the short tracks yet. If this was a Gen 6 car, I would be super excited, really pumped for it. Done 2 or 3 short track races with this thing and haven't had it hasn't come to me yet. So hopefully it can next week, but as of right now, I'm nervous for it. I'm hoping I could just crack a top 10 or get a decent finish, but my expectations, I'm not expecting to go there and win, but a top 10 would be nice.
Cedric, it was an incredible run for us to watch you guys just going back and forth on who was up front all night long, but we are going to give the floor off to you for anyone that you got to thank here tonight.
Yeah, I want to give a huge shout out to all the drivers, more specifically like all the guys that were up front. There was some really good battling. I know the 77 and Vinny and I were battling for a good portion of that race up front, pretty much all running like different lines. So that was quite interesting. We all had different driving styles. Unfortunately, the clean air kind of reigned supreme, but I want to give you a huge shout out also to Tom. That finish was really good. He kind of came out of nowhere, I felt like, that race. So congrats to him. Huge shout out to all my team. So Zach, Collie, Bob, Stamp unfortunately couldn't make it tonight. But and thanks to all the fans out there. Oh, I also want to give a huge shout out to Roasted Gems, not only for sponsoring the league, but to sponsor also this 13 car. So thank you so much for them for hopping on board. They're a great product. If you haven't already tried it, I would strongly recommend it. Probably, or it is, I feel like, the best coffee I've tasted. So, and I'm not just saying that because they're on the car, but I feel that way legitimately. So go try them out if you haven't already. And thank you to all the fans.
That's 13 to Cedric Hunter. Congratulations on a third place finish and good luck heading into Martinsville. And hopefully we'll be talking to you in 2 weeks once we're broadcasting at Daytona.
I appreciate it, guys. Hopefully I got an interview next week.
As that's going to be Cedric Hunter in the 13 machine, as we're going to be taking next week off, so we will sadly not be able to cover that Martinsville race, but we will be back on Daytona to give you the coverage there. But now we got to second place, the driver that tried to steal this one away. We got Tom Sinchek up at the booth, and Tom, it seemed like we're working slow, methodical most of the night, and then those final couple of laps, it was throw everything out, practically everything in the kitchen sink at that 15. Man, what was going through your mind there in those final 6 laps?
Get through his quarter panel, one way or another. I figured something out with like 15 laps to go. But he's way too smart of a driver to not know what's coming. So if I got a run out of 4, he would go to the apron because he knew that it's probably where I was going to end up going because there was no way I was going to get to his outside with the arch on the front stretch. So yeah, just get to his quarter panel, and even if I did, I'm not quite sure I would have been able to clear him with the outside being so strong. But yeah, he ran a smart race, and I was honestly just trying to hold on to second, and at first it presented itself, then I would have went for it.
Tom, just nice, like Sam said, methodical race for you. Didn't quite get the qualifying run that you probably wanted tonight. Started, down there in 15th, all the way up to second. How important, were tires in this race? Especially in that long run after the stage break.
Probably not as important as everybody. I mean, there's a big difference between 20 lap tires and 1 lap tires, but you saw a couple guys stay out, like Brian and Kali, and a bunch of guys. I think they had like 5 or 6 laps on their tires before the stage started, and they held their own for such a long time. If a caution came out, they would have had prime position. So they were important, but like 4 or 5 lap tires weren't super important if you were trying to keep that position. But yeah, we still had 1 left in the bank at the end there. Kind of wish I would have used it before the stage, but it's all good.
It's still a solid finish, second place for yourself there, Tom. And before we let you go, the floor is yours for any shout-outs.
Everybody that finished up front, very, very, very clean racing. I didn't actually even see a wreck. They all happened behind me, so everybody up front that was racing really cordially. Yeah, between Cedric and Justin and Vince and everybody and Brian and whoever else was around us, we all raced pretty well and gave each other plenty of room. And then Kyle and Danny and everybody from Late Apex and you guys were broadcasting. It was a fun time. I'm glad to come over second.
Well, thanks for giving us a great show. That's going to be the 8 machine of Tom Senchek. Congratulations on a second place finish here tonight, and good luck heading to Martinsville next week.
I'd see you later.
As we head from second place, we go to victory lane with the driver that has just found a way to win everywhere he goes, and another one gets notched on. We got Vincent Sora up in the booth. Vinny, I mean, it looked difficult in those final 6 laps. Had to defend Tom there at the end. But, man, if you look at the race as a whole, it would look dominated by you. But how was it from your end of this race?
It was pretty difficult, especially trying to defend the whole time. I felt like that was all I was doing the whole race. It was just, the clean air is super important and it's crucial. But, being that leader is, it's tough because especially on that run right before we got that caution with about 50 to go when Lewis was up on the top and he was making it work and he'd get these huge runs out of every exit of the corner and I'd have to block it. And a few times I tried to take the line away by going up there. I just preferred the bottom. I felt like the bottom was much better for you on your tires. And, I felt like I could make it be quicker than the top. But yeah, it was super difficult at the end. Everyone's kind of just pack racing the groups up together and you got to defend the lines almost like it's a super speedway. Unfortunately, I hate that the draft is as strong as it is, but it's what they give us, and you just got to learn and figure out how to manage it all.
Yeah, Vincent, great run, great start to your season. I mean, second at Vegas, third at Indy, back-to-back wins here tonight. I mean, domination so far early in the season, but you touched on it, that outside line that Lewis was running. And you feeling more comfortable on the bottom. I mean, even with how much speed he had, just something that you never thought about going up there to try it.
Well, the top is usually actually pretty good at Kansas, and in the past 3 or 4 years that I've been on here, the top has been the dominant group with all the cars. But it seems like with this one, a lot of things have switched with this new next gen car, and I think at all the mile and a half, it just wants to wrap the paint on the bottom more than anything, and it'll be more gentle on the tires. You got to put less wheel into it down on the bottom than you do at the top, and you're just. For me, I feel like it's quicker. In the practice race, Brian made the top work on a short run and got around me to win, but I really didn't feel like it would be as good as it was on the long run. But Justin made it work, so shout out to him. He did a really good job. But yeah, I just really didn't want to venture up there and hurt my tires any more than they already were.
I mean, Vinny, you look at the stats that you've had here for the WSSR as a whole, it is just mind-blowing to see. With this win, this is your 6th win of this series. You are now tied for 3rd all-time in this series, and this is season number 5. And just your 2nd season, and we're not even halfway of your 2nd season so far, but you've won half of the races you've started in this series. You have won. Incredible to think, incredible stats to say, but Vinny, I know you might probably have a lot of people you got to thank with the amount of victories that you've gotten, so the floor is yours right now.
Oh yeah, for sure. Just got to thank everybody that shows up every week. We've had really good attendance for these first 4 races, so we're really thankful. We know a couple guys had to miss tonight because they had other plans, but yeah, thanks to everybody that shows up every week. Thanks to all of our sponsors. They do a great job. We really appreciate them. They do a ton for us. Thanks to you guys for broadcasting it, for you fast broadcasting. Can't wait to go back and watch the broadcast. So hopefully it was a good one for everyone at home. Thank you to my personal sponsor, McConey Setup Shop. Thank you for the guy that paints this car that you see every week. Tom Sinchek, he does a great job, and I want to thank all my Category 5 esports teammates and my league teammates. Yeah, that's it.
That's going to be your winner here tonight, the 15 of Vincent Sora. Congratulations on your win, and good luck heading into Martinsville next week.
All right, thank you, boys. Have a good one.
As we head from that, we go into looking at our unofficial results here tonight on where the drivers finished for tonight's 4th race of the season. And the Roasted Gems copy 225 did not disappoint. A lot of drivers didn't get the finish that they wanted, but up front, a lot of changes happened throughout the night. Up front, Vincent Sora going to get the win. He was up there all night long. Tom Sinchek was around that 4th, 5th position, but he was able to come away with 3rd. Same could be said for Cedric Hunter. 3rd and 4th was where he was balancing for most of the night, but a 3rd place for the 13, with Aaron Smith going to be able to get 4th with that of Brian Johnson, Zach Hall, that of Christopher Howell, as well as Jonathan Cogswell, Jeremy Little, and Rich Jamison going to be finishing out the rest of our top 10. But I'm going to say from that of 5th back to 10th, those were some great recovery runs. But Trevor, we look at the rest of this field, it's just a mosh podge of drivers that were dominating at one point, and then they couldn't finish it where they wanted.
Yeah, just some tough luck for some of those guys. Rich Jamison with a great run, up 15 spots. Got himself a top 10, so good run for him. But I mean, you look at Brandon Colley, down there in 13th, got caught up in a wreck. Jamie Dunning, all the way down in 23rd, got caught up in that incident, along with Justin Lewis there. Danny Cochran, all guys that started within the top 5, top 10 that just didn't get the results that they wanted just due to some issues on the track. But overall, a great race tonight from these guys, and definitely looking forward to getting back to it when we come back in 2 weeks at Daytona.
Yeah, for the drivers, they will continue to race on. They've got Martinsville 200 laps that they're going to deal with and potentially get a lot of frustration out. But then us at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we have a complete week off that we're heading into starting Monday night for us. And then we will be back covering here for these drivers in 2 weeks at Daytona. But cannot wait to see these drivers come back for Super Speedway Racing, and for myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor to come back and give you some of the action and calling it. But Trevor, tonight, I mean, this race gave us everything. Gave us some strategy, gave us some great hard racing. But man, this was way better than I could have expected that Kansas could have given us.
Yeah, a lot more racing than what I thought it was going to be. You look at it kind of like Vegas. But Vegas seems to always put on a closer racing than in Kansas does. But tonight these guys were able to work all those lines, put on a great show for us tonight, and that's 4 races in a row where we've had 4 really good races to call, and I'm definitely looking forward to coming back for Daytona and getting right back into it.
We cannot wait for it. But here at Freaky Fast Broadcasting, we got one more broadcast before we go on our week-long break. That's tomorrow night. It's the 802 Nixon Cup Series race, as they are going to be tackling that of Richmond for 180 laps. That is going to be a tough race, I could say, personally wise. I'm going to be racing in that, and it is already a handful for myself. I'm going to need all the practice time I can get before we start that race. But Trevor, for tonight, it was a pleasure to cover all these races. But man, are you ready for a break? Because I feel like I kind of am as well.
Hi, Sam, I'm ready for a break. Tuesday nights and Saturday nights, all the races we've covered so far have been spectacular. They've been entertaining and just so much fun to call up here with you and Robert. And I think the week off, I think it'll be good to kind of settle back down and then jump right back into it after that.
Yeah, week off is coming. Going to be starting that of August 8th. We're going to be off until that of August 14th. We'll be right back giving you more coverage of racing action here on Freaky Fast Broadcasting, starting off with Monday, the 15th of August, where we'll be covering that of the ISRC Truck Series. And we'll be back giving you amazing WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series action, starting that of August 20th. That's when we'll be back. That's when Daytona will strike. But for us here tonight, for myself, Sam Dyer, for Trevor Earhart, and Robert Moyer Jr., thank you for watching Freaky Fast Broadcasting here on your Saturday nights. Subscribe, hit that bell notification, so maybe you might be missing out on a week of great live coverage of these races, but make sure you're subscribed and you got your notifications so you know when we come back and you won't miss the next race. Thank you again for watching here tonight.
It was the WSSR Roasted Gems Cup Series, and it was here at Kansas where Vincent Sora got his second win of the season, the first multi-time winner this season. Will he get his third, fourth, or even more? We'll have to find out in 2 weeks when we head to Daytona. But for tonight, thank you for watching with us. Have a good one, and we'll see you on the next broadcast.